So this was a bit overshadowed because Naughty Dog finally announced a new game for once. Oh, sorry, they announced a new franchise. Because that's always a good sign when a company announces something as a franchise before the first game is even out. Also, I'm calling it right now, Concord is going to be relaunched as part of the Interstellar universe. Bookmark this video, you owe me $5 when it happens. But anyways, back to the point of this video. Last of Us 2 Remastered is officially coming to PC. It'll be dropping in April, I think. I didn't really internalize a release date. I can barely internalize the fact that this franchise exists at all half the time. I also thought this announcement from Nixxes was really funny. We're working closely with Iron Galaxy. Don't worry, guys, we're keeping an eye on them this time. But even though this was only news for like an hour and a half, because then Naughty Dog revealed a new game, there was quite a bit of salt over it, and I figured we'd have a nice little chuckle, because truly, what were you expecting at this point if this upsets you? Like, the first Last of Us was already ported to PC, and Sony's been throwing all their stuff on the PC for years at this point. I'm really not sure why you're surprised that this is still happening, but thanks for the free content. Because even though Last of Us 2 going to PC was the most obvious thing on the planet, we still had reactions to it that went something like, LA Supremacy says, stop betraying PS owners. Don't release exclusives on PC. So stop betraying PlayStation owners. It's betraying PlayStation owners. I love how PlayStation dudes love to talk about how amazing these games are, how wonderful these games are. But then the second that more people get to experience them, you're like, you've betrayed us. Fucking how? You still have the game. They're not taking it away from you. Oh, they've betrayed you because you were promised high-quality exclusives on your plastic box. Well, you had them for a while, yes? They didn't betray you by putting Last of Us 2 on PC. They promised you Last of Us 2 as an exclusive, and until now, it has been. So even in your own stupid world where you think exclusives are totally awesome and a great consumer-friendly practice, even by your own logic, this argument doesn't make sense. They didn't betray you. You got exactly what they told you you would get. You got The Last of Us 2 as an exclusive, and now you're presumably done with it. You have to have played it by now. So they're going to make some more money off of it by giving it to another community, and they're going to use that money to make more games. Is this not a winning formula to you? Why do you care so much? Why do you put so much of your value into a plastic box that you had no hand in making? It's weird. Stop it. The Bizarre Gamer, that's a good name, says stop it with the fucking PC ports. You must love to shoot yourself in the foot so much. Just stop. Jeez, you're embarrassing yourself by doing this. Gamers look at you like you're by doing this. I love when people use the word and they can't spell. Like it's just chef's kiss of irony here. But yeah, no, totally. Sony is shooting themselves in the foot, and people laugh at them because they put games on PC and then make buckets and buckets of money off of PC ports. Do you have any idea how much money Sony is making off of the PC market? I'll give you a second to think about it, and then I'll put the answer on screen in 3 seconds. 5, 6, 7, 8, here's the number. This is how much money they make off of the PC. Tell me why anyone in their right mind, or with any semblance of how the gaming industry actually works, why would anyone be laughing at this? There are so many publishers out there who can only dream of putting up numbers like this on multiple platforms. And here's Sony putting up this kind of money on one platform, and it's not even their own platform. But it's a platform that doesn't have a PlayStation logo on it, so you're just gonna start peeing everywhere because you can't handle that. And you people call yourself gamers. You call yourself gamers. You are aware that video games predate the PlayStation, right? You are aware that the number of people playing on PlayStation and only PlayStation, that number of people is minuscule compared to the number of people who play on other platforms. Like, it's not even funny how much smaller that number is. PlayStation being your only platform is such a bizarre way to play games. Oh, Bizarre Gamer. I didn't even do that on purpose. But like, what's it gonna take for you people to realize that you're the weird one? You are the weird one. Like, the industry isn't supposed to work like this. An entire medium, an entire entertainment form is not supposed to be completely owned and completely dictated by one singular company. If there was any other entertainment medium that worked like this, we would all think it was strange and wrong. But this is what you're openly advocating for when it comes to Sony and video games. It's so weird. And why? What do you get out of it? More price hikes? More overpriced consoles? More overpriced games? More pain to play your own games online? Like, truly, what do you get out of this? At WebDJ says, I thought PC beggars who saw this game on YouTube hated it. Let's see if they don't buy it now. Laughing. Okay, well, first of all, didn't Last of Us 2 sell like half of Last of Us 1? And also, The Last of Us 1 on PC sold tremendously. That's part of the reason why the shitty launch was such a problem. A lot of people gave their money to Sony for what ended up being a broken product. But also, what's the excuse going to be if we don't buy part 2? You know what I mean? What's the excuse going to be this time? Like, PC gamers don't buy games. Well, a lot of people didn't buy part 2 on the PlayStation either. Like, PC gamers didn't have access to part 2 up until now, and part 2's reception and reputation is just as mixed as it ever has been. The people who did play Last of Us 2 on the PlayStation have a very split opinion of it. But suddenly, let's see if you don't buy it now. As if there wasn't already a lot of people who had access to it who were choosing not to buy it before. You see what I'm saying? Like why is it only a problem? Why is it only a point of mocking when the PC community is involved? Because your community hasn't really been hyping this game up that much either. If anything, your own community is going to be the reason why a lot of PC gamers don't buy this game, because your community is the one that has told my community to maybe not buy it because of the content, because of the story, because of the characterization of certain things. You know, like we didn't do that. If PC gamers choose not to buy this game based on its reputation, the reputation is literally not our fault. It is your community's fault. But suddenly, if we don't buy it, you're already preemptively being like, PC gamers don't buy games. Well, we buy the shit out of other games. If we don't buy this one, I kind of don't feel like it's gonna be our fault. Especially after how the first game launched. And like really, what do you want from us? You have a game with a very split reception, a game with a very mixed reputation. It's the sequel to a game that had a horrendous launch on PC, but you're already preemptively giving yourself the out of like, PC gamers don't buy games, even though we absolutely buy games. We just might not be buying this game. So take a second to reflect on that and ask yourself why. Why this game? Nikion says, that's all y'all have to say. Nothing for your fans, but selling out to PC. Yeah, I hate to break this to you, but they have fans at places other than PC. Nothing for your fans, except things for your fans? What a bitch you are. Like, you guys realize that a lot of fans of Naughty Dog have moved on from the PlayStation, yes? And you also realize that there are people who don't own a PlayStation, nor do they want a PlayStation, but they are fans of Naughty Dog regardless because there are other ways to play Naughty Dog games? Like, ways other than the PlayStation? Naughty Dog does not begin and end with The Last of Us and Uncharted, my friends. LG7 says real fans bought it on PS5 already. Yeah, you're not a real fan unless you bought it on PS5. I like this. In regards to Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. If you're a real fan of Last of Us Part 2, you would have bought the remastered version. You would have not only bought a PS5, you would have bought the remastered version. Be a good little consumer. You don't really like The Last of Us unless you bought Last of Us 2 Remastered registered trademark on the PlayStation 5 registered trademark. There's no possible way you can like The Last of Us unless you did that. Like, I love that you guys are like, man, PC gamers, they would get it if they could just play the game. People who don't have a PlayStation, they would get how awesome PlayStation games are if they could just play the PlayStation games, man. And then Last of Us 1 comes to PC. And in your dream scenario, and I'm sure this happened, there were plenty of people who played Last of Us for the first time on PC and became fans. But you're like, no, absolutely not. So, like, the logic is that you would understand why we praise these games so much if you just played them. And then we play them not on the PlayStation, and all of a sudden you're not a real fan. So, are the games good or are they not? Are the games good, or is the logo good? Because the argument you're making really just makes it sound like you think the logo is good, and that's where it all stops. So maybe stop being a bitch and take your finger out of your butt. Okay, one more. Omega Striver says, does Sony remember that it has a console called the PS5 released? I've experienced the PlayStation generation, the PS2 gen, the PS3 gen, the PS4 gen, and now the PlayStation PC gen, because it sure as hell feels like every time there's PlayStation news, it's for PC. I started talking like the main girl from Mean Girls halfway through that. I'm really not sure why. Regina George, that's her name. I started talking like Regina George. Or was it Gretchen Wiener? I haven't watched Mean Girls in a while. I forget which one is which. Guys, it's happening. I forget which Mean Girl is Mean Girls. But I love this. I love this. I love that in the PlayStation community, you have people saying it's not correct to say the PS5 is lacking. Like if you say, oh, PS5's got no games, they'll get really mad at you for it. But then when PlayStation announces a PC port, all of a sudden it's like, why don't you care about the PlayStation? So don't criticize the fact that the PS5 has no appeal, but also the PS5 has no appeal. Like, do you even realize you're doing this? I don't understand why anyone on the PlayStation side of the aisle thinks this is surprising or even thinks it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing for PlayStation to be expanding their audience, because how else are they going to make money? Not every gamer on the planet is going to buy a fucking PlayStation 5, and to expect everyone to buy a PlayStation fucking 5 is really unrealistic. But also, PlayStation has told you, Sony has told you to your face 50 bajillion times they're going to keep doing this. If you have any PlayStation exclusive that you are like really tied to, you really have an emotional connection in the fact that it's PlayStation exclusive, sever the connection now. They are literally telling you to do that. It is not surprising, nor should it ever be surprising, when a PlayStation published game goes to PC. They keep telling you they're going to do this. Really, the only reason The Last of Us 2 Remastered exists at all, now I'm absolutely certain the only reason it exists at all as a standalone game was to justify a PC release. Or you guys can keep yelling and crying and peeing your pants because I get free content out of it, and I get to shout out the Doofus Club as fast as humanly possible every time. Oh, you people are exhausting, but it's so much fun to make fun of you. Okay, toodles. So, late last year, it was announced that Spider-Man 2 is going to PC. That launch is a couple weeks out right now. Not surprising, given the fact that Spider-Man Remastered did extremely well on PC, and there was no way there wasn't going to be a port of the sequel. And typically when a bunch of artists who are about to release their art to a new audience, the artists want people to know about it. They want you to know that the thing they worked so hard on is about to be available for you to enjoy. But apparently, if you're a PlayStation fanboy, this concept is completely lost on you because you're not actually a real person. So the other day, Insomniac Games tweeted out a simple promotion for the upcoming PC port of Spider-Man 2, and the amount of frustration and anger in the replies was just so predictable, but also so ridiculous, because really, what were you expecting at this point? How did you not see this coming? They're not stopping the PC ports. They're not going away. Why are you still mad? And it's not like the PC ports hurt you. Sony makes a buttload of money off of them that they then use on new games. Truly, why are you mad? So we're just going to read through some of my favorite replies that were left on this tweet, because apparently PC ports of PlayStation games are still this much of a problem to these people. So they just play the song. Play the song real quick.
One day, I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy. Keep that in mind and design to strive to improve load and time. That's all I know.
At this point, it really is just Demon Souls. You know, it really is just Demon Souls at this point. I guess maybe also Bloodborne, but like with how garbage that game has been upkept on the PS4. I almost said PS3. Like, does that really count as a PS5 game at this point? If the emulated PC version is playing this much better than the PlayStation version, does it really count as a PlayStation exclusive at this point? Okay, anyways, let's get into the replies to this tweet. These were hilarious. Darkborn says to get 10k sales and 5 million pirated downloads, lol. I'm sorry, if you think the ratio of pirated copies to properly sold copies on the PC, 10k to 5 million? Can we please stop? Can we please stop with this? Are there a lot of pirates on the PC? Yes, there are. there is a lot of game piracy going on. There's also a lot of game sales going on. So for the most part, publishers don't actually give that much of a fuck about pirated numbers. Because as long as the sales are high, it's easy to write off piracy as just an inevitability. It's unavoidable. You can do what you can to minimize it, but you're never going to get rid of it. But to imply that 10K to 5 million, I know you're probably exaggerating, but there's so many people who actually think stuff like this is legitimate. You really think Spider-Man 2 is going to sell 10,000 copies on the PC? Like, Spider-Man Remastered sold 7 figures on the PC. Easily. And it continues to reach the Steam top 50 basically every time it's on sale. Whenever Spider-Man's on sale, it shoots up into the Steam top sellers charts. But you think the sequel, controversy aside, lower reviews aside, PSN accounts aside, you really think the sequel's gonna do 10K? What's that one Uncle Iroh quote? Like, wisdom has been chasing you, but you are faster. It'd be really funny if I played that clip right here. Anyways, Mr. Johnson says, shame PC gamers don't buy games. Hey, remember when Capcom said that the PC is buying more games than the PlayStation and the Xbox and the Nintendo combined? Hey, remember when Capcom said that like 5 fucking seconds ago? Quote, only on PlayStation was all Sony talked about when they first sold the game. Yeah, when they first sold the game, it was only on PlayStation. Fucking hope this helps. Like, what? Yes, the game was only available on PlayStation for a long time. So they said it was only available on PlayStation for a long time. I love when PlayStation dudes try to use this as an argument. It's like, I called myself 5 when I was 5. Like, can you imagine Jerry over there? Jerry told people he was 5 years old. How old was he when he said that? 5? Did he stop being 5? Yeah. So why are you upset about it? Well, because he said he was 5, and he's not anymore. The thing he said that was true at the time is no longer true, and that means he was a liar forever. This is a fundamental problem with Jerry. Everyone say fuck Jerry in the comments. Everyone say Jerry is a dirty, lying rat down in the comments. Oh, fuck. What is wrong with me today? Odin Gameslayer says, wrong move. Keep console games exclusive. Protect the platforms. Protect the platforms, but don't do a thing that would make the platforms better, because when they sell the games on other platforms, they make more money they can use on their platforms. They also take away the aspect of games being held hostage, which means they now have to convince you to buy the console for reasons other than the games being held hostage, which benefits literally everyone. How exactly are console exclusives protecting anything? Like how is a single thing protected by console exclusives? Why are you like this? This one is a quote tweet of a guy with a noose, and it just says, fuck you. I mean, at least you guys aren't punching above your reading level that much anymore. I really hate having to read, like, multiple sentences written by someone who doesn't understand 4th grade English. So, I kind of appreciate it when you guys don't even try. AC McCovey says, no DLC, no buy for me, thank you very much, and a happy new year. Well, at least he's polite about it, kind of. Omega Striver says, I remember when at PlayStation, at Sony used to release PlayStation console games. I'd love a new PS5 first-party title this month. Hey, remember all throughout 2024 when people who didn't like PlayStation were saying that PlayStation was having a slow year, like a slow release schedule, and all the PlayStation dudes were like, no, how dare you say that? PlayStation has so many games. Stop saying PS5 has no games. The PS5 has no games meme is bad. There are so many games to play. But then the second the PlayStation dudes get wind of a PlayStation game going to PC, all of a sudden you agree that there's a content drought from Sony. Like, which one is it? Which one is it? Is there a content drought or is there not? Do you have a healthy pipeline of games or do you not? Notice how PlayStation fanboys are moving the goalposts instead of playing games. PlayStation nerd says, bad move, Insomniac. Kaiba, that move was unwise and you know it. Shut up, Yugi. I will put my games on the PC. Come to think of it, Kaiba, that's a very good and reasonable thing to do for someone trying to make money. Why, thank you, Yugi. It's about time you saw the world through my perspective lenses. I'm so sorry. Are we cringing? Are we cringing together? Are we cringing yet? Don't worry, the video's not over. I'm just getting started, Chief. Liz says, fuck all games going online, keep it on consoles. Today I learned consoles don't have online. That moment when you're such a console fanboy that you just start erasing features from the console for no reason at all. Hunter Assassin says, we'll see some stupid mods. Great. Face palm emoji. If you don't want to see mods, just don't look at the mods. If you don't want to see it, don't look them up. Are you okay? Do I have to call someone? What is this? One more. The Joker Soul. That is the dumbest ad I have seen in like 3 weeks. Says, I have no issue with this, but let's be real. 90% will be pirated, and the other 10% will actually buy it. At PlayStation, at Herman Holst. I love when you guys try to make this argument of that there's like some kind of giant percentage disparity between piracy and copies of games sold. So let's just say 90% of the PC community pirates games, yeah? 90% of PC gamers pirate their games, only 10% of PC gamers actually buy their games. Hey Google, how many PC gamers are there? Hey Google, what's 10% of that number? How delicious those numbers look. Like, obviously 90% of the PC games that are in circulation, I guess, obviously 90% of them are not pirated. That's stupid. That's stupid. I caught myself. Are you proud of me? But my goodness, you people are just... I truly don't see the problem. I just don't see the problem. Maybe it's because I've been on PC for too long. Maybe it's because I just inherently despise any kind of corporate knob slobbering that goes on. Like, maybe my tolerance is just abnormally low for this kind of thing. I'm not ruling it out. But God, you people are so weird. You want PlayStation to succeed, but then you get so pissy when PlayStation does a thing that helps them succeed. So like, even if you do want to take the ultra pro corporate stance here, you're still taking the wrong one. This is a rare instance where the pro corporate stance and the pro consumer stance are actually the same stance, and that's that more games should be on more platforms and that console exclusivity is dumb and restrictive. It's restrictive to the buyers, it's restrictive to the developers, it's restrictive to revenue pools, it is restrictive in every single possible way. And if there's one thing that you should be noticing about the modern games industry, it is that it is not only restrictive, it is unsustainable. Console exclusivity is unsustainable unless you are Nintendo, apparently. Then you can just do whatever you want and people will make 5 million leak videos about it. Also, did you guys see Nintendo's response to the leaked Switch 2? A Switch 2 started making its way around the internet, like the actual physical Switch 2, and Nintendo went silent for a few days and then finally said, yeah, those posts aren't official. Like, yeah, that's what leak means, Nintendo. Thanks for confirming that these are legitimate. Oh, it's all so silly. It's all so silly. And I am always so happy to make fun of you guys doing this because just, oh my lord. Protect the corpo, you know what I mean? The corpo must be protected, and even though the corpo didn't actually want this thing to happen, I'm gonna make sure it does happen. Because, you know, if the corpos still wanted their games to be exclusive, then they would just keep them exclusive, but they obviously don't want to do that. But then the people who are obsessed with that corporation go against what the corporation wants, because apparently even though the corporation wants the games to not be exclusive, it's better for them to be exclusive because I said so in the name of the corporation that's doing the thing that's the opposite of the thing that I said they should do. This is nuts. Oh, my foot itches. I was about to start recording and then I got an itch on the bottom of my foot in my shoe. Oh, I hate that. How, like, what could even be touching the bottom of my foot to give me a bottom of the foot itch? And then it's impossible to scratch because I'm wearing socks. So I just gotta, like, pinch my foot over and over again. So Astro Boy is coming out pretty soon. I said Astro Boy. That's not the game. That's not the game. That's this kid. You guys remember this? Remember this game? Remember this game? It was based on the movie, based on the, you know, I know it was based on a bunch of things. But for some reason, this is one of those licensed games that comes up every now and again. People are like, oh, that one was actually good. So down in the comments, I want you to tell me how awesome the Astro Boy game was. Oh, this video is not getting anywhere. This is not working. Okay, Astro Bot. Astro Bot The game is coming out soon, and it looks like it's actually going to be pretty cool. I rewatched this video I did a while back about the state of play where Astro Bot was announced, and that game was really like the only thing worth caring about at that entire showcase. I also think it was interesting that at that showcase there was the Marvel Rivals trailer, which got flippin' stomped in dislikes, but I do think it's funny how the attitudes on that game have shifted over time, because now it seems like the general consensus about Marvel Rivals is that it actually seems pretty promising after the playtest. It's just interesting how opinions changed. Totally off topic. Anyways, but Astro Bot is coming soon. Sony's hyping it up. They're doing like custom controllers and stuff, and everyone's really excited for it, and good thing too. I'm actually pretty stoked about the fact that Sony's putting so much marketing juice into a new like PS2, PS3 era platforming type game, because I grew up on those kinds of games, you know? I'm in my mid-20s. No, I'm not. I'm in my late 20s. I'm 27. Fuck, I hate it here. But like, I grew up on those kinds of games, so I'm excited for this like big nostalgia trip game. I'm not going out and buying a PS5 to play it, but I'm excited at the prospect of them funding such things. I'm a PC player, I have no interest in the PlayStation 5, but I'm happy that a game like Astro Bot exists. But apparently, according to the Astro Bot team, I might not actually be excluded from this game after all. Because the other day, the creative director of Astro Bot was point blank asked about a PC port, and he very cleverly did not answer the question. According to the article on VGC, he was asked about whether or not PC players were going to get the game, to which he responded, quote, "Well, we want to hear from you. Absolutely, we want to hear from you." And this was also after he flat out said no to a PSVR version of the game, which I don't know why anybody was even asking about that. Like, it's a platformer. Obviously, there's not going to be a VR version. But how interesting it is that we say flat out no to a PSVR version, but then when it comes to a PC version, oh, we want to hear from you. That's one way to announce the PC version is in development, but I digress. And like, if you're a Sony guy, this shouldn't be surprising. PlayStation has basically told you to your face like a dozen times that none of the first-party games are safe at this point. PC makes them too much money. And how else are they going to start making up on that $200 million deficit from Concord? Jesus Christ. But as is par for the course, PlayStation dudes have been flipping out about the prospect of Astro Bot going to PC, because when you completely base your entire personality on brands and logos and brand loyalty, of course you're going to be upset about this new game going to PC eventually. Even though if you're really excited for this game, shouldn't that be a reason for you to want more people to play it? Isn't that supposed to be how liking games instead of corporations works? Gaming is art, and if you want people to experience the art that you like, wouldn't you want them to be able to do that without giving a corporation $500, $600? I mean, this announcement also comes right off the tail of Sony increasing the price of the PlayStation 5 again, because apparently in the modern gaming industry, we can be 4 years into a console generation, and instead of getting price drops, they're getting price raises, because that's how little these companies respect you. And this is precisely what happens when you encourage these companies to focus on brands and IP instead of actually making their platform better. But I have a million other videos about that. This video is dedicated to all the people who saw this report from the Astro Bot creative director about a potential PC port and then started flipping out because apparently the piece of art that you are really excited for is not actually worth being excited for unless you're willing to give hundreds of dollars to Sony, a completely different company who did not make the game. And you think you're the bigger person here. I am always going to make fun of you. This is pathetic. Let's begin. Mr. Johnson with the Last of Us profile picture, which is how you know it's going to be a wonderful, mind-blowing take, says, "Don't see the point. PC users don't know PlayStation history, so why would they want this game? And they would have to buy a DualSense to play the game as well." Have you ever considered the fact that maybe a lot of PlayStation people moved over to PC? Also, have you maybe considered the fact that PC players do know PlayStation history, either because we just pay attention to games that are coming out, or because we have emulators and can play the games as well? The ultimate irony of this is the fact that the PC actually has more access to PlayStation's history than the PlayStation 5 does. Like, if you want to access all of PlayStation's first-party games, all of PlayStation's exclusives from the beginning of the consoles, from the beginning of PlayStation as a whole, the PC has way more of them. In fact, the PC has almost all of them. How many of them do you have on the current PlayStation console? So, if anything, doesn't Astro Bot make even more sense? to be released on the PC. But what is this? You would have to buy a DualSense to play the game. No, you wouldn't. Like, why would you need a DualSense? Oh, because there's certain things about the game that are like, you need the DualSense control, you need the haptic feedback, man. You need these things. They say that about every game, I swear to God. It seems like every first-party PlayStation game says they have some amazing gimmick with the PS5 controller, man. You have to use the PS5 controller to get the full experience, to really get it the way it was intended. And then it comes to PC and it's like, yeah, never mind. Didn't they say that about the PS4 controller with games like Until Dawn? Like how there were things in Until Dawn that you had to have the PS4 controller to experience. Until Dawn's coming to PC, so it's almost like they can change control schemes. I swear, PlayStation takes away options for control and then dresses them up with fancy controller like haptic feedback and stuff, as if the game is hard-coded to only work with this one control scheme. Meanwhile, the PC is over here letting you use any controller and any button configuration to do basically anything. And you guys are like, what? Nope, never heard of it. Sony said use the PS5 controller. You have to use the PS5 controller. That's what they said. You can't possibly play this game without the PS5 controller. It's because Sony said so. I'm reminded of fucking Rise, Son of Rome with the Kinect, when Microsoft said in order to play this game, you would have to yell fire volley at that one point, and then the game comes to PC, and they just make it a button prompt. And you know how much damage that did to the experience? Literally none. Different control schemes exist. There's no way that they would release Astro Bot on PC and then force you to buy a DualSense controller to play it. That's commercial suicide, which after Concord is a concept that Sony should be painfully aware of. Moving on. Daniel Stamp says, I think a PC port would be pointless because Astro Bot is a game that takes advantage of the PS5 in many ways, but for PC it wouldn't be all that impressive. You know that the PC can do more than the PS5, right? And you also know that Sony just released a bunch of PS5 controller support for the PC, like yesterday. So genuinely, what would the PS5 version of this game be able to do that the PC wouldn't be able to do? Cause I'm blanking. 6i says, OMG, PC at PlayStation at Herman Holst, you really making hard for many consumers like myself to continue supporting PlayStation. PS6 to me at this point has very little interest. If this continues, stop supporting PC. I love this train of thought because it's like, I bought the PlayStation because of the games, right? Because if you're talking like this, you bought the PlayStation because of the exclusive games. But then when those games start going somewhere else, you're like, man, this platform has no value. So you're telling on yourself because you bought a console off of exclusive IP and nothing else. That is your fault as a consumer. You made a bad purchase. If you bought a console and the only thing worth having the console for was exclusive games, that's not a good console. At that point, you should have gotten a PC. Now, what should happen is once exclusive games can't be used as a big marketing point, then the consoles themselves have to improve. They have to figure out new ways to entice you. If they have to improve their hardware, improve their pricing, improve their services, improve their longevity, things about the console that cannot be covered up by holding exclusive games hostage. Once the exclusive games go away, the console has to stand on its own. So if you think the console cannot stand on its own without the exclusive games, it's because you're a dumb consumer and you wasted your money. Zachary Hargrove says, no, keep it exclusive. No justification, no reasoning. Great contribution to the discussion, Zach. I'm so glad I read this. Shadow Team Leader says, if this game comes out on PC, I will seriously stop supporting PlayStation. The God of War goes to PC, that's fine. Uncharted goes to PC, that's fine. Last of Us and Spider-Man on PC, that's fine. But Astro Bot, line has been crossed. My support has ended. Dragon says, you know PC have to start knowing the story about PlayStation. No story, no game for PC. Yes, because Sony is so concerned about making sure PC gamers have the whole story with their games when they port them to PC, which is why they ported Uncharted 4 and not 1 through 3, and Ratchet & Clank like 10 instead of 1 through 9. I know Rift Apart was not the 10th Ratchet & Clank game. I just don't feel like Googling which chronological number it was in the series. You get the point I'm making. But also, I say it again, if you're trying to make the argument that Astro Bot doesn't work unless you have access to PlayStation's history, PC has more access to PlayStation's history than PlayStation does in the current year. which is fucking pathetic when you really think about it. But it also means that's a bad argument and you shouldn't use it. Also, I'm aware of the fact that I seem a bit more fired up than usual in this video. I'm really not sure why that is. Maybe it's because I just wasted like 3 hours of my life at the card shop, at the repair shop, because I make an appointment for 9 o'clock and I get there 10 minutes early and then they fuck around and don't even get to my car until like 10:45. And then I'm coming in there because of a problem with my brake lights and I write on the paper and on the appointment thing, brake lights, please check my brake lights. And then after they fuck around for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes with no word on where my car is, they break the silence asking me if I want a $200 oil change. So maybe that's why I'm a bit annoyed right now. You'll be hearing from my Yelp account. No, you won't. I don't actually care that much. They gave me free coffee, so it's fine. Because I actually am that fucking Seattle guy. If you just throw coffee at me, I'll immediately forget about all my problems. Moving on. HT says, why is a PC port already being discussed of a game that isn't even out on PS5 yet? Why is a game about PlayStation and its history even being associated with PC? What an absolute joke PlayStation has become. Serious clown show at Sony, at PlayStation, at Team Asobi, at Herman Holst, at Yosp? Yosp? I don't know who that is. I do think it's funny how many PlayStation dudes are taking issue with the idea of this game going to PC, like on the grounds of PlayStation's history. Like, this game's a love letter to PlayStation's history, man. Why are you putting it on PC? Shouldn't the question be, hey, this game is a love letter to PlayStation's history. Why can't we access all of it right now? Like, why is that not the question? I can't wrap my head around that. You on the PlayStation 5 have such minuscule backwards compatibility with the previous PlayStation consoles and the previous PlayStation games that this game is supposed to be paying tribute to. And you're taking issue with the game going to PC when the PC has better backwards compatibility than what Sony's giving you. I don't get it. Like, I just don't understand this frame of logic. Also, have you ever considered the fact that maybe if PlayStation is going to put Astro Bot on PC, they're going to put the other games on PC as well? They already put Ratchet & Clank on PC. They've already put Uncharted and Sackboy on PC, Last of Us on PC, God of War on PC. How many of PlayStation's previous exclusives are not playable on the PS5? And yet you're taking this out on us, the PC players, and not Sony? Sony's the one taking games from their own history away from you. Why is that our fault? David says, more PC bullshit before the game is even on PS5. Oh, fuck right off, PlayStation. Now I'm gonna buy this shit used. It really is only about the logos to you guys. Like, you're still gonna buy the game, you're still gonna play the game, but you're going to do so in a way that Sony, and by effect the developers, the actual makers of the game, don't get any financial support from you. All because the creative director says he wants to hear from fans about a potential PC port. So he acknowledges a potential PC port, and that's enough for you to not want to give him money for the game that you're going to play regardless. And you guys call the PC players toxic. Like, you guys call the PC master race the problem with gaming. Also, how funny it is to me, the number of PlayStation guys that yell at PC players, oh, PC players just pirate all the games. PC players don't buy games. And yet here you are, just openly saying that because a creative director said something you don't like, you are now not going to buy the game from them. Because I'm not sure if you're smart enough to understand this, but when I pirate a game and when you buy a game used, both of those methods give the developer and publisher the same amount of dollars. $0. But when you guys do it, it's okay. How interesting that is. One more. Muda says, so they won't make a version for people that paid money on extra PlayStation hardware, but will make one for PC players. PlayStation is looking like a scam. If Nintendo improved specs, there would be no need for PlayStation or Xbox. Wait, so you're upset that they're potentially porting the game that already exists to a different platform, but are not making a VR version? Do I have that right? You're mad that they're not making a VR version of the 3D platformer and are instead potentially porting the 3D platformer to a different platform of players who like 3D platformers? Because, dude, if this game comes to Steam, it's going to do gangbusters for the Steam Deck. That much is certain. Astro Bot would do numbers for the Steam Deck. God, you guys will complain about anything. The game is still the same. You're still getting it. They're not taking anything away from you. There's just gonna be potentially more people who get to experience it, and that's a problem to you. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. It's because you're obsessed with logos and corporations, and you want PlayStation to be the only company. Or I guess in this last case, you want Nintendo to be the only company? Question mark? God, just, I don't get it. I don't get it. PlayStation has had such a slow year for first-party games. And then when a first-party game comes along that everyone agrees, PlayStation player or not, basically everyone agrees Astro Bot looks fire. But you're mad about that because there's potentially going to be non-PlayStation players who get to play it. And you guys somehow see yourselves as like the moral high ground in this industry. You guys are just, god damn it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. I love making videos. I love laughing about this stuff. But like, fuck. What is the point of this? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? God, you people are strange. Okay, toodles. So, on July 20th of 2022, Insomniac Games released a more detailed look at what we can expect from the upcoming PC port of Spider-Man. The PC version will feature unlocked frame rate, graphics settings, DLSS support, ray traced reflections, and improved shadows, ultra-wide monitor support, which will be fucking juicy, customizable controls, and this graphic was the main one going around, talking about, roughly what specs will get you roughly what settings, and I mean, the game looks pretty solid. Most of the reception to this announcement was positive, obviously. Assuming all goes well, this is going to be a really nice port, and on paper, this is a pretty nice step up from Horizon Zero Dawn. Sony's PC ports seem to have kind of a stink attached to them, and I'm not really sure why. Most of them have been solid, from what I've been told at least. Like, from everything I've seen and everything I've been told, God of War, Death Stranding, Days Gone, they all run pretty well. It seems like Horizon Zero Dawn is the only one to have a really janky PC port, so I'm not sure why so many people seem to think, Sony's ports are overall bad, but I digress. Most of the reception to this news was positive, but there were still a decent amount of people who haven't gotten over the whole Sony game going to PC thing, and then also another few people who try to use this as an opportunity to console war for Xbox for some reason. So basically just another day on gaming Twitter. I want my exclusivity back.
No.
People who choose to play on a certain platform because that platform has certain exclusives, that makes total sense to me. I don't agree with it, but it makes total sense to me. But people who mourn the loss of that exclusivity is just confusing. You realize that when a game goes multi-platform, it's no longer being used as a way to hold you hostage on that platform, right? You realize that games going multi-platform literally makes your situation as the consumer better in every possible way, because you now have more hardware options to choose from, since you don't automatically have to go to one of them because that is the only one with the games you like. Exclusivity never actually benefited you as the consumer, but you've convinced yourself that it did. PC peasants need to spend close to $3,000 on specs just to match PS5's performance, bwahahahahaha. And then, oh god, let's take a look at this. PlayStation, best and most popular platform in gaming. That's literally not fucking true. Home of the Game of the Years and best looking games in history, also not fucking true. How the fuck are you going to have the best looking games in history on a platform that doesn't even have the best hardware? Home of the most awarded game of all time. Yeah, isn't that also Last of Us 2? We're home to the most awarded game of all time. That game is Last of Us 2, so we kind of don't care. Top of the gaming industry for 5 generations in a row. Again, that's not true. PC has more users than you, but also the Wii fucking beat the shit out of the PS3. It wasn't even close. Let's keep it. Okay, Nintendo, home of the most fun games and best family-friendly games in the market. Excellent sales data. Wait, home of the most fun games, but PlayStation has the best games? Steam, home of the port beggars and salty peasants, the epicenter of piracy, requires at least $2,000 to barely beat a $400 console. I have a million videos on my channel already debunking that. It's not fucking true. Xbox, home of the last place in the market since its foundation in 2001. Again, the PS3 barely beat the Xbox 360, so I wouldn't get too proud. I wouldn't be too proud of yourself here. Xbox losing to PlayStation the last couple generations has mainly been because Microsoft keeps shooting themselves in the foot. But anyways, this is, wow, that hurt. Okay, when we're looking at this graphic here of the PC settings for Spider-Man, it's estimated that the PS5's performance is somewhere a little lower than the quote amazing ray tracing category, like maybe halfway between that one and the previous one. But if we're talking about a PC capable of running the amazing ray tracing settings, you don't have to spend anywhere near $3,000, like not even close. How is this narrative still a thing? So what is the pricing on this going to be like? Will there be a $10 fee for each higher graphics card? Swipe credit card to unlock 3070 graphics options. Oh god, I'm going to assume this is a troll comment, because fucking huge yikes if it's not. Unless my PC has a PlayStation symbol on it, why should I care? Because it's still the PlayStation ecosystem? If you're a big fan of PlayStation and all they have to offer, whatever you think that is, why wouldn't you be interested in what they're doing? Especially when it comes to the games that they've been holding hostage for however long now. Sony bringing their games to PC is a huge shift in the market, and it's representative of a larger push in gaming to make the hobby more accessible. Platform exclusivity is more and more becoming a thing of the past, and it's forcing Microsoft and Sony to start competing in different ways, which is going to have a huge impact on how good their platforms actually are for gaming. They can't hold games hostage anymore, so they have to figure out ways to keep you on their platform. Getting rid of exclusive games means Microsoft and Sony are finally incentivized to make their platforms better. Xbox has gotten so much better since they dropped console exclusives, and Sony is finally following suit. This is literally good for everyone. So 3080 is power of PS5. Interesting.
No.
I'm selling my PS5. There's never been a more pointless console than the PS5 timed exclusive box. Yes, you're catching on. Now that Sony can't survive off their exclusives, you're starting to realize just how underwhelming of a system they run. The same thing happened to Xbox, and you know what Xbox did in response? They got better. They actually listened to what people wanted from them. And today the Xbox is actually a decent platform. Why are Sony fans so opposed to this happening to the PlayStation? Like, I really don't get it. It's not like your games are going to the Xbox if that's really what's so important to you. And now that exclusives aren't going to be such a heavy focus, Sony will actually, hopefully, start putting more resources towards making the platform itself better and more consumer friendly. Stop being such a fart face. Sorry, that was a little too far. Hold this L. Can't wait for PlayStation to buy some more PC porting studios like Nixxes and spend all the money at porting PC games rather than investing in making new first-party games. Meanwhile, Xbox buying up every third-party studio and killing PlayStation slowly but surely. Dude, Xbox can't even get a game out without delaying it 7 fucking times. Like, I think they have bigger problems to think about than Sony doing the same thing they've been doing, you know? Like, seriously, Microsoft needs to get their shit together because their giant army of studios really doesn't mean anything when they can't finish a single fucking game without multiple delays and a ridiculous employee turnover rate. And if more shit like Halo Infinite is what it's all leading up to, you might as well jump ship from Xbox now. Like, seriously, how did Halo Infinite, the big flagship Xbox game, launch in such a fucking state, remain in such a fucking state, and it was originally going to come out a full year before it actually did? Was the original build just a screensaver of Master Chief? I absolutely refuse to believe this game had more than $10 worth of content at the time that it was supposed to come out. And it actually almost did come out like that. Xbox better. Kindly rewind my video about 2 minutes and just listen to that whole section again. Xbox runs this game better. Right. Spider-Man is going to do very well on PC, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. Spider-Man and Bloodborne are really the only PlayStation exclusives I cared about, and now one of them can finally be checked off my list. So if you're a Sony fanboy who's still upset about this, just be happy. Remember that this is a good thing for your platform too, not just the PC. Assuming you're actually capable of criticizing Sony, you should be aware that there are plenty of things that they could be doing better with the PlayStation brand, the hardware, and the ecosystem. I think it's about time that PlayStation actually proves it deserves to be in that top spot of the console war. Would you not agree? Toodles. So this last week has been one of the worst ever for AAA gaming. I mean, as a longtime advocate for the complete destruction of AAA gaming, I'm here for it, because first there was the Helldivers 2 PSN debacle, which still hasn't been resolved because there's still 170 plus countries who haven't gotten the game back on PC, and apparently now Sony is rolling out country restrictions for Ghost of Tsushima as well, because apparently it's literally impossible for Sony to be a remotely competent PC publisher, and yet they insist on being one. Then after the Helldivers thing, Microsoft decided to one-up them by shutting down one of their only consistent studios because they were being too consistent, I guess. Then EA came out of the woodwork and was like, hey, don't worry guys, we're gonna save gaming with a new Battlefield game that is a tremendous live service. And then immediately after that, Andrew Wilson was also like, hey, you know what? AI game development is cool and groovy and everyone agrees with us. Even though evidently no, nobody agrees with you. Ubisoft's been weirdly quiet through all this. Like, I'm 100% expecting Ubisoft to jump out of the closet any day now and be like, surprise, Splinter Cell Remake is a looter shooter now, or something. But as much as some things catch on fire and some things disappear into the lava like the end of Terminator 2, spoiler alert, some things stay the same. And as long as PlayStation exists, so will PC ports of PlayStation games. And as long as PC ports of PlayStation games exist, so will PlayStation fanboys getting really angry about them for no reason. Even though, as I've said many times, if you call yourself a fan of PlayStation and their IPs, I'd imagine you want more people to experience them, and thus you would be excited about the prospect of more people getting to play PlayStation IPs, but there I go again on my big train engine full of logic and rational thinking. So the other day, it was reported that Sony is possibly going to be announcing a PC port of God of War Ragnarok in the near future, which I totally buy because Ragnarok's PC port leaked a long time ago, and Sony is probably going to have their big spring showcase soon, which means no doubt they're also going to announce a new PC port or two. If we're going off established history, they'll probably wait until the day after the showcase to announce the PC ports on Twitter, because that's just how Sony operates for some reason. But then again, after the whole Helldivers 2 fiasco, they're probably going to want to try and make nice with the PC community, and what better way to do that than by acknowledging your own insignificance with some new PC ports. I stress again that Ragnarok's PC port is not 100% confirmed at the time that I'm making this video, but given Sony's aggressive attitude towards PC expansion, as well as the fact that God of War 2018 was one of their best-selling PC ports to date, Ragnarok is basically confirmed for PC, it's just a matter of time. But you come to this channel to laugh at console fanboys, and rest assured, dear viewer, this tweet covering Ragnarok's PC rumors was more than enough to send some PlayStation fanboys over the edge once again, so come along with me as we take another ride on the Sony ponies acting completely stupid train. At Last of Us PSN says, so every first-party game is just gonna be on PC now? Nintendo is the only real exclusive console at this point. I'm confused as to how this is surprising, like, at all. Sony has been porting games to the PC for years on end. They ported the 2018 God of War to PC, so obviously they're gonna port the sequel, and they've literally said to your face multiple times that they're going to keep porting games to PC. But every time a new one is even rumored, you're like, what? Really? How'd this happen? Also, literally every Nintendo game can be played on PC, all of them. And console exclusivity shouldn't be a buying point of gaming hardware. The fact that you think it is indicative of a larger problem with the industry. I really thought we were over this. Holding games hostage so you don't have to make your platform better is one of the biggest problems with AAA gaming. Getting rid of console exclusivity not only pushes hardware and platforms to be more enticing to buyers with more important things, like performance or what the consumer is actually getting for their money, but it also means the consumer has more options instead of being strong-armed into spending hundreds of dollars on a box they didn't actually want outside of a handful of games that they may or may not like that the box is holding hostage. This is the future, and it's better for everyone. Get over it. Embrace it. It's better for you too. Matthew responds to PSN and says, oh no, more people get to play a game, cry me a river. And then Muda responds, it's the equivalent of selling gym memberships, then letting people in for free after. Obviously those that paid the membership fee will feel scammed. Today I learned apparently Sony is giving these games away for free on the PC. Apparently we don't have to pay for them. Well, I mean, you know, yo-ho-ho notwithstanding. But I'm pretty sure when God of War Ragnarok comes to PC, they're going to be selling it for a fee Like, this analogy is fucking awful. This isn't the equivalent of free gym memberships. Let me make a better gym analogy. I'm gonna make a better gym analogy. So let's say there are two gyms in your neighborhood. One of them is owned by Sony, and the other one is just owned by a local dude. For the sake of the analogy, we'll call the dude Gabe. Sony's gym is stinky and overpriced, while Gabe's gym is more nicely maintained and more fairly priced. But then Sony developed some new gym equipment back in their warehouse, some new machines, and they seem really appealing, but then they only put the new machines in their own gym, the stinky overpriced gym. And instead of using that machine development money to make the stinky overpriced gym not stinky and overpriced, they put the money towards the new machines that they're gonna put in the stinky overpriced gym, because they thought some nice looking equipment would entice people over there instead of the nicer, less overpriced gym without the enticing looking equipment. And then after a while, once the excitement of those new machines wears off, they'll sell the machines to the second gym and get a slice of the membership fee at the second gym. I know that's not how gyms work, but just for the sake of the analogy, go with this. After a while, people are not going to want to deal with the stinky overpriced gym regardless of how nice the machines are in there, and they're just going to go over to Gabe's gym and use Gabe's machines, because it's not like the equipment that Gabe has is bad simply because it's not the equipment that Sony has in their stinky gym, especially if Gabe is going to get Sony's equipment in the future anyways. That is what's happening right now. Sony has been trying to use your interest in their fancy new gym machines as a way to distract you from the fact that their gym sucks ass, and this strategy is not working anymore. And that's not the consumer's fault. It's Sony's. They should have taken some of that money they spent on the fancy equipment and made their gym smell less like ass. Maybe I would have gone there. And if Sony is unwilling to make their gym not smell like ass, and they know that they're not going to get people to switch gyms, why not just put the nice equipment in both gyms at the same time and make money both ways? Because also, apparently no matter how bad their own gym smells and how poorly it's maintained, there's still apparently a lot of people who are going to pay that membership for Sony's gym regardless. So truly, what is the downside of PC ports? Do you get my analogy? Was it clever? Was it clever? Did you like it? Anyways, that's my gym analogy. It was better than yours. You should delete your gym analogy. Your gym analogy is really fucking stupid. Silent Ride Home responds to the news and says, why even own a PS5 at this point? And then Luis responds, it's been a while since it came out on PS5. If you haven't played it by then, you clearly don't care about the game, crying face. Right, because apparently the only way you're allowed to care about a game is by buying it day one on a piece of hardware you don't want. I mean, there's plenty of games that I care about but haven't bought because I'm not going to buy a PlayStation just for them. That doesn't mean I don't care about the game, it just means I care about my money more. I really care about Blink 182, but I'm not paying hundreds of dollars to go see them when they come to town. That doesn't mean I don't care about them, it just means fucking hell, I don't feel like spending that kind of money. I mean, I'm going to Punk and Drublick Fest this summer, tickets to that were like $40. Look at this fucking lineup, $40 for this. Blink, I love ya, but you can eat shit if you think I'm paying $400 just to watch your show from a wimpy ass push pit. Also, this is totally off topic, but apparently Drain was added to the bill as an opener for Blink at the Denver show. It's Blink, Pierce the Veil, and Drain. And as someone who very much enjoys Drain, I'm not sure if the Blink and Pierce the Veil kids are prepared for how their night is going to start. Anyways, back to my video now that I've completely alienated like 70% of my viewers by talking about my music taste. Savage Dom 720 says, do PC players even really deserve PlayStation games at this point? I mean, I don't want to hate, but a lot of PC gamers are toxic as fuck and will ruin an already amazing game. I don't want to start any fights, just some good conversations. How the fuck would PC players ruin a single player game? Like, that doesn't even make sense. How would you accomplish that? But also, I love this. I don't want to hate, but also PC gamers are toxic as fuck. I don't want to start any fights, but PC gamers are toxic as fuck. And all this in reference to a game that was previously exclusive to the PlayStation, where we obviously know there's no toxicity in the player base. None. There's no toxic PlayStation players. PC gamers don't deserve the game, because some of them are toxic. But also, don't flame me for saying this. I said I don't want to hate, I don't want to start fights. I said something deliberately provocative, but don't you dare react to it or else you're toxic. Like, holy shit, grow a spine. Also, look out the window of your glass house for once. PlayStation dudes are constantly screaming and crying about everything. Why do you think there's so many PlayStation fanboy salt videos on YouTube? It's a never-ending gold mine. Like, you can't possibly be trying to say here that PlayStation gamers are completely not toxic. I know you're not trying to say that. Obviously, the PlayStation has some percentage of toxic players. And yet, Sony is still selling games to them. It's almost like having toxicity in the player base doesn't matter to Sony, and they'll sell the games to the player base anyways. Dr. Bonk responds to the news and says, will it be unavailable in 177 countries? And then Bulksu HD says, you don't need PSN to play it. You know, you didn't need PSN to play Helldivers either, which is why it used to be available in almost 200 more countries than it is now, because functionally, you're right, you don't need PSN, as evidenced by the 3 months that the game was available and playable without one. And yet, here we are. Also, friendly reminder that Ghost of Tsushima is racking up the list of unavailable countries, and that list of unavailable countries also just coincidentally happens to be the list of countries that don't have PSN. For Ghost of Tsushima, I can't imagine why people are bringing up PSN in response to God of War Ragnarok news. But also, this lad was unironically retweeting Nick Marcial during the Helldivers 2 PSN fiasco, so I'm not surprised that this is flying right over your head. Worm says, already tired of this PSN Steam debacle. Just buy a PS5 and you'll get to play these games day one. Ugh, I'm tired of consumers having choices. I'm tired of consumer choice. Consumer choice is a debacle. Somehow. Just go out and buy a PS5 so that way you can pay another $70 for a game you might like, maybe. Letting people play the game on their platform of choice is a debacle. Going back to this tweet that Louis said, it's been a while since it came out on PS5, you haven't played it, you don't care. Clem Prime responded, said, or I just want to play it on the superior platform, did you ever think about that? No, you only think of yourself. And then Joda responds, well, if you are playing games for graphics, then I guess you're right. If you still think graphics are the only thing that the PC offers you over the consoles, I really don't know what to tell you anymore. Cheaper games, no paywall between your internet connection and online multiplayer, way more controllers and peripheral options that cost way less than the minimum you'd have to spend for those things on consoles, way better hardware future-proofing through things like graphical settings that let you fine-tune the game to your preferences instead of being locked to whatever resolution and frame rate the devs and publishers choose on for the console version, so that way you can stretch your PC hardware's life way longer than a console would ever allow you to, and the ability to upgrade your PC build piece by piece and even sell the pieces you're done with. That's all way better than having to buy a whole new console if something breaks, or if the stupid fucking Pro version of the console comes out and promises you slightly better graphics sometimes in some games, and you see that as a worthwhile investment for some reason. You have the literal thousands of games that the PC has access to, but the consoles do not, be them indie games or AA games or AAA PC exclusives, which, contrary to popular belief, do indeed exist, as well as all the emulators that you have access to. You have access to basically every console game ever made prior to the PS4 era on the PC, and it's only a matter of time until we get the PS4 era and afterwards on the PC as well. Like, give emulation a few more years, it's going to get there. If you really think the PC only has graphics as an advantage over the consoles, if you really think the console has the edge after everything I just listed in every avenue other than graphics, quite honestly, you deserve to get fucked over by these companies at this point. Like, if you genuinely still think that Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, if you genuinely think a console is offering you a better gaming experience and a better gaming platform in every way other than graphically, you deserve to get fucked over. Because this isn't ignorance anymore. It's just denial, and you deserve it. Going back to Luis's tweet here, he got a response from Alvaro, who says, definitely want to play the game in the best way possible, and that's PC. Mando responds, like Last of Us port? Right, lol. Dude, Last of Us is going to be the new Arkham Knight, I swear. You know how console dudes were holding Arkham Knight over PC gamers' heads for like 8 years after the PC version came out broken, completely ignoring the fact that the PC version of Arkham Knight was fixed like 7 years ago and is now undeniably the best version of the game on the market? It might have even been more than 7 years ago. I forgot it was 2024. Oops. Like, the PC version of Arkham Knight actually fucking slaps now. But you wouldn't know that with how often console dudes still bring up Arkham Knight as an example of bad PC ports. But then Last of Us came along and finally gave them a new example of how terrible PC ports are. But oops, that's awkward. Much like Arkham Knight, the Last of Us PC port has been patched up pretty heavily and is currently sitting with a 91% recent approval rating on Steam and a 71% approval rating overall, which is actually really impressive considering how hard this thing got bent over and spanked during the first few weeks of its life on this platform. But also, are we just going to ignore all the good PC ports that have come out of Sony the last few years? Like, sure, they're not perfect, but they've been pretty solid, like on average. Last of Us was certainly an outlier, is my point. That doesn't matter. The PlayStation dudes are gonna hold on to that shit like their life depends on it because it's all they've got. I also think this is funny because this is all in response to news of a God of War Ragnarok port. God of War Ragnarok is the sequel to God of War 2018, which got a PC port that is great. The PC version of God of War 2018 is an excellent port. Also, Horizon Forbidden West came out like, what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? It had a fantastic PC port. A while back, I 100%ed Spider-Man Remastered on Steam, and that port is excellent as well, minus a few CPU issues that are by no means deal breakers in my opinion, and to my understanding, fixed with mods if it's really that important to you. But no, you guys are gonna hold on to the launch state of Last of Us Part 1 forever because that's how you operate. I can have an entire encyclopedia filled with evidence against your opinions, but if you have even one minor point against me, you're going to dismiss my entire book. You guys are all the same, I swear. Even if that one point isn't even relevant to the conversation, you're gonna keep bringing it up and dismiss my entire encyclopedia of reasons why you're wrong. You console fanboys are all the same. Doesn't even matter what console, you're all the same. And you never get any better at it. That's what blows my mind the most. You've been losing arguments this way for like a decade now, and you still don't feel the need to shake up your tactics. It's so weird. Like, do you genuinely think you're winning? Cause you're not. Let's scoot over to a different source. IGN also reported on the news of a potential Ragnarok PC port announcement. Firebreather responds, Sony should drop the PC market. Absolutely nothing makes them happy. Or just give us Bloodborne and Demon's Souls, then we'd all be happy. Like, straight up, I don't know what Sony's waiting for. Literally every Souls-like with a half-decent marketing push or word of mouth makes bank on PC. I truly don't know what you're waiting for. You're just sitting on 2 FromSoft Soulsborne games and not releasing them on the FromSoft Soulsborne platform for some reason. When PC guys talk about Sony being allergic to money, this is precisely what we're referring to. You're releasing God of War 1.5 on PC before the FromSoft games. You released fucking Sackboy on PC almost 2 years ago and still haven't said a peep about the games we actually want over here. It's getting comical. It's been comical. Ugh, PC gamers are just never happy with Sony. Gee willikers, mister. I wonder how they could change that instantly. T says, OMG, all Sony games going to PC. What's the point in having a PlayStation now? PlayStation owners jump ship. PlayStation is just going to a third-party developer. First of all, PlayStation is a publisher, not a developer. But also, not sure if you know this, but PlayStation has been a third-party publisher, like, for quite some time now. Like, even if you don't want to talk about all the PC ports, have you heard of a game called Destiny? Or how about a game called MLB The Show? Both of which are available on Xbox. PlayStation is a third-party publisher. They're just not as varied in their third-party practices as other third-party publishers, but it's only a matter of time, especially on the PC. Oh god, like, I love how PlayStation dudes just ignore reality. Sony has literally been throwing their business strategy in your face for years now, and you still act surprised when they continue along the business strategy that hasn't changed. I also love that you guys still pretend to actually like these games when you also unironically shit yourself when you learn more people get to play them. Fun fact, and I know many of you know this, but if your enjoyment of a game is impacted by it being an exclusive, like if you actually, unironically, have a positive or negative change in your opinion of a game simply because of the logo on the box it's being held hostage on, you don't actually like that game. So crack open a cold one, go play another Crab's Treasure, and also listen to Drain. They're a really good band. Okay, toodles. Another PS4 exclusive bites the dust with the announcement of Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC later this year, and on Steam no less. The rumors about this started circulating a few months ago, and now it's finally confirmed. My personal thoughts on the game haven't changed. It just wasn't really my thing, and I doubt that'll change just because the frame rate's higher, and it looks prettier, and there's mods, and it's more customizable, and it's cheaper, and... You know what? Maybe I'll give it another try when it's out. But Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC, and Sony is finally loosening the stranglehold they had over their IPs, which is great news for everyone. Well, except for Sony ponies, that is. I mean, are we really surprised at this point? How? It's exclusive PlayStation game. A lot of these are pretty simple, but you'll get the gist of it. This is nothing but a good thing. If Sony decides to follow in Microsoft footsteps and release them on PC as well as console, I'll probably just switch full-time to PC. Both console games and PC exclusives, great. But seriously, it's good to have options. Anyone who disagrees is sad. And this basically sums up my feelings. The console marketplace and the PC marketplace are very different. People need to recognize that. By bringing a console exclusive to the PC, you're really not hurting anyone, like, at all. But Robot Dude, I like that name. But Robot Dude replies, "Long time ago, we knew each console had exclusive games. This makes each console different than others. And the exclusive games make gamers buy the console to play its exclusive games. Now, if the games are not exclusives anymore, the consoles will not be sold and played as PC." See, that would be true if it wasn't. Consoles have exclusive games, yes. PC has exclusive games, yes. Some games are exclusive and good. Some games are exclusives and bad. What matters is good games are being made, and if there is a good game being made, more people should be able to play it. Would you not agree? Lobsters are fabulous. So, exclusives stop competition. Competition is good and furthers innovation, which is exactly my point. People like to say exclusives are competition, but they're really not. What is competitive about restricting your game to one platform? There's so many parallels between the Epic Game Store and the way the console exclusivity market works now. People were saying, oh, Epic needs these exclusive games to bring people over to their store because that's competition. No. Competition would be the game is on multiple platforms, and then people decide where they want to buy the game based on how good the platform is. And that's how we got to the 8th console generation just being so garbage and underpowered and anti-consumer, because they were holding games hostage instead of making their platforms better. But Robot Do isn't done. No! Exclusives encourage competition and console lovers as PlayStation full of exclusives. What? And console lovers as PlayStation full of exclusives. Okay, I'm gonna run this one through the translator. Console lovers as PlayStation full of exclusives. Let's translate that to, let's go with Russian. Now let's go ahead and swap it. Console lovers like a PlayStation full of exclusives. Did that actually work? I'm doing this off the top of my head. Like, I'm completely winging this. There's no way that actually worked. Are you shitting me right now? I'm a genius. So console gamers love a PlayStation full of exclusives. Well, if you're only buying PlayStation for the exclusives, I urge you to not do that because you're just encouraging more anti-consumer practices from consoles. Also, I encourage you not to do that because there are better games out there. Shocker, the only genre of game in the world isn't third-person, over-the-shoulder cinematic action with QuickTime events. But it's also really funny to me because out of the 20 best-selling PS4 games, only 9 of them are exclusives. Well, it would have been 10, but, you know, Lamau. Also, off topic, what's the deal with Drive Club? I forgot this game existed, but it's one of the best-selling PS4 games. What's with Sony ponies having the most selective memories ever? Do you care about exclusives or not? I have literally never heard the word Drive Club come out of any of your mouths. Sony are falling apart. PlayStation is in big trouble. Yes, because Sony destroyed the competition this console generation. They have millions and millions of an installed user base. The PS5 is going to be successful pretty much no matter what, but they're putting some of their games on PC now. A platform that does not directly compete with them. Yeah, they're falling apart. Bending the knee to the competition, huh? Pathetic. I've said it like a million times, but I just don't understand, like, the negativity here. You guys always praise these exclusives. You say they're amazing, you say they're great, but then they go to a different platform, which again doesn't even directly compete with PlayStation, and you lose your minds. Do you actually want people to play these games or not? Are the games good even without the only on PlayStation stamp? If the answer is no, you're a fanboy. If the answer is yes, you should be happy about this. So much for it being only on PlayStation. False advertisement, huh, Gorilla? Dude, if people actually try and sue for false advertisement, I will throw a 24-hour party on stream. I'm not even joking. If there is like a legitimate, not like a petition, like a lawsuit goes to court about false advertising, I will host a 24-hour stream of me playing The Order 1886. I swear to God, I will do that. LOL, only on PlayStation. Sony like. Come on, God of War, Uncharted, The Last of Us. Yeah. I know it sounds questionable, but I hope what Sony is doing... What? Because if they going too far releasing their first-party game to PC, this could spell console to be forgotten and irrelevant in the future. When that happens, manufacturers will stop making console. Okay, first of all, consoles will not become insignificant or irrelevant because, like I said, the majority of best-selling games on console are multiplats. Games available on everything, including PC. Of the 10 best-selling games of 2019, one was an exclusive. One. Literally one. And before you say something about Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 is not an exclusive. It's on 2 consoles. The best-selling games in the world are not exclusives. So let's do a math question here. One game is available on 1 platform. Another game is available on 3 platforms. Which game is available on more platforms?
That, plus my stick, must mean...
But then we got a response from Codespace. A decent gaming computer is around $1,200 to $1,500 USD, while a console usually ranges from $400 to $600. Plenty of room in the market for both. Oh boy. You can build a console-killing PC for maybe a little bit more than you can get a new console. I used to say you can build a PC for less than consoles, but you know, it's the end of a generation. Consoles are getting cheaper now. Also, I super would not recommend buying a console right now. Not with the new ones around the corner. It's like, why would you buy a console right now? Anyways, you could build a console killer PC, I would say for about $500 to $600. If you want 1080p, 60 FPS, pretty much across everything, you can absolutely do that for $500. I did it. I've said it a million times. My first PC was like $550 and it destroyed the consoles, and that was like 3 years ago. $1,200 to $1,500 USD. Get the fuck out of here with that, dude. I'm so tired of this. How is it 2020 and we're still spouting stuff like this? Okay, so PlayStation fans are asking all around the world for new PS5 info or for Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, and the only news we receive is about a PC port. Thanks God we still have The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima releasing this year, or we would all be very upset with PlayStation. So the games are important, but no one else can play them. You like the games, but you don't want other people to play them. Do I have that right? You like the games, but the news of more people getting to play the game is bad and only offset by there being 2 other games that no one else can play. I say it again. If the game isn't good unless it has the only on PlayStation sticker on it, you're dumb. PlayStation exclusive, do not appear on your PC. PlayStation loses its charm. Ooh woo. You know, it's crazy. I feel like I said something about this before. I'm probably just imagining things. So, PlayStation loses its charm if it's on PC. If the game is only good when it's exclusive, it's not a good game and you're dumb. Will ruin the brand. You can be sure if all the exclusives come out on PC, I will leave PlayStation and I won't even buy more. Will you become Microsoft? Dude, imagine Sony wanting to become Microsoft. One of the biggest corporations on the planet. Is that supposed to be like an insult? So you want Sony to be successful, but you don't want them to be as successful as a company more successful than them. Okay. Oh boy, publicly announcing that before there's even a proper PS5 reveal was probably not smart, guys. See, I think that's actually the point of them announcing this now. They've been announcing PC ports and PC versions for their games before the PS5 reveal. You know, Predator, Death Stranding, Final Fantasy VII, now Horizon Zero Dawn. There's rumors of other PS exclusives coming to PC down the line. It's almost like they're setting something up. Although I have to wonder, if the PS5 is like integrated with the PC the way the Xbox One is now and the Xbox Series X will be, like how they're kind of integrated with Windows, if the PS5 is revealed to be integrated with the PC in a way, what are you guys gonna do with yourselves? Like, someone's got to be putting all these PlayStation channels and PlayStation accounts on suicide watch. Congratulations to PC players. For owners of a PlayStation, this shows how Sony is not caring about its true fans. The PC wins. Now would be a good time to remind you that the best-selling PS4 games are majority not exclusives. So, we don't have news of PS5. We don't have news of anything. In fact, Sony just doesn't care. I got tired. And thinking a little more, this wouldn't be misleading advertising. Since this game was announced as exclusive to PS4, it was announced as exclusive to PS4, and then it went somewhere else, which is funny because these are the same people who rejoice when a game that wasn't on PS4 gets ported to PS4. Am I wrong? Do you like video games or not? Look, if this is the panic that's coming after the Horizon Zero Dawn reveal, I am so excited to see what happens in the future. There have been rumors of there being a PlayStation launcher on PC and all the exclusives coming over, and then Cory Barlog actually made a vague tweet about God of War coming to PC. If this is like ground zero panic for Sony exclusives coming to PC, I am so ready for the future. But you know what you should do before the future? Follow me on Twitter, @JoeFromSeattle1, and maybe donate to the channel with the link in the description. Not required or expected, but extremely appreciated. My school's been closed because of Winnie the Flu, so I'm gonna be getting on the video grind in the next couple weeks and maybe going back to regular streams. Stay safe out there. Toodles. So, apparently the other day, Ghost of Tsushima set a couple records for PlayStation on PC, including having the highest concurrent player count for a single-player game published by PlayStation, and also being the second most popular PlayStation game on Steam behind only Helldivers 2. And just imagine how much higher those numbers could have been if you actually sold the game worldwide instead of limiting it to countries with PSN access. Bazinga! Now, I haven't bought the game. I'm probably not going to buy the game because I really don't want to contribute to Sony's handling of this nonsense, but then again, I still really want to play this game because I want to experience the art that Sucker Punch and Nixxes put so much work into. Oh gosh darn fiddlesticks, if only there was something I could do in this situation. I'm honestly torn on this news because I really don't want to encourage Sony's obsession with padding their PSN stats. I go more into detail about that aspect of things in this video, so if you want more of a discussion on that, go watch that video, because this video isn't going to be about that. Instead, this video is going to be about the inevitable wave of PlayStation fanboys who saw the success of Ghost of Tsushima on PC and took it really personally, because these people are obsessed with the PlayStation logo and are still completely allergic to anyone not paying hundreds of dollars for a big plastic box full of $70 games, 30 FPS caps, and an additional paywall between you and your own internet connection if you want to play your own games online. So put your pitchforks aside because we're not yelling at Sony today, and we're not going to shred them in half for their utterly anti-consumer PSN practices in this video. Instead, we're going to have a nice cup of coffee and have a nice little chuckle at the people who, after everything Sony has done, are still publicly sucking them off at every opportunity for basically no reason. And when these people saw a PlayStation published game doing really well on a platform other than PlayStation, they were triggered to an unreasonable degree, and we can't resist the opportunity to make fun of them, now can we? So there were a handful of Twitter gaming news accounts that posted about the news of Ghost of Tsushima's great Steam launch, and we're going to take a look at some of the saltiest responses, because people got really upset about the fact that this game did really well on PC. Shall we begin? Buffalo says, "You're welcome, PC players. Try not to ruin this one with your entitlement and elitist bullshit." Why are you saying you're welcome? Like, bro, you didn't do anything. Legit, you had nothing to do with this. And don't try to pull the, oh, well, we bought it on PlayStation, so we're the reason you got it on PC. Because Sony also ported flippin' Sackboy to PC. I didn't see any of you guys buying that one. Like, it's not like Sony is actually following what sold best in terms of the order of PC ports here. But also, how would we ruin this with our entitlement? The game is out. The work is done. Genuinely, what can we do to ruin it at this point? Also, if anything, our entitlement and elitism is what got us a superior version of the game. We have higher standards for our games, so we got a better version of it. But apparently, us PC gamers, we're just ruining games left and right with our elitist attitudes. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, going back to playing literally any game I want at any frame rate I want, Mercy Mirror says, not impressive for a 132 million monthly active users on Steam, PS5 is fire. So, PS5 is fire, even though 6 words ago, you acknowledge that Steam has way more active users than the PS5. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for them. But also, if you think the numbers that Ghost of Tsushima is putting up aren't impressive, you need a reality check. The game launched in the middle of the week and is 4 years old, and yet it put up better numbers than most multiplayer games do on Steam. Steam has way more games competing for our attention, which is why concurrent players for the top games might be lower than you would expect for a platform this large. The fact that a single-player game has this many concurrent players is extremely impressive, because single-player games have endings. You finish them. So the fact that on a Monday morning, at the time that I'm making this video and taking these screenshots, Ghost of Tsushima is still boasting over 60,000 players. It's like 10:30 a.m. on a Monday right now. 60,000 people are still playing this. That's wild, because that means there's a massive number of people buying the game and hopping on to take the place of people who have put it down for one reason or another, be it because they're done, or because they're taking a break, or whatever the reason may be. Single-player focused games don't exist off shared servers or incentives for people to play together. And like, let's be real, the multiplayer is not what's bringing people to Ghost of Tsushima. Like, we all know people aren't buying this game for the multiplayer. That being said, concurrent player counts this high on a single-player game are a sign that a lot of people are buying it. For reference, the top Steam games right now are these. Like, look at these player counts. These are the top games on Steam, and remember that Ghost of Tsushima at 10:30 a.m. on a Monday is at 60k. This is impressive no matter how you want to look at it. Like, just imagine how much higher these numbers are going to be when Sony finally goes day and date. Corgi says, people keep asking for day and date, yet here they are selling this much of a 4-year-old game that has already sold, capped out on console, similar to how Rockstar operates. Okay. Several things wrong here. First of all, the decision to release Ghost of Tsushima on PC 4 years after PlayStation, that was not a conscious decision. Like, that wasn't always the plan, you know? Sony shifted strategies and then greenlit a PC port years after the console version. This isn't like Rockstar, who always intends on releasing PC versions of their games, but they just hold on to them for a year or two so people double dip. Or at least in theory, that's why Rockstar does it. Not sure how great that strategy is actually going to play out nowadays, but we'll see. But also, second of all, you're saying this game is evidence that Sony doesn't have to do day and date because, oh, look how high the numbers are when it's 4 years old. Like, Sony doesn't have to go day and date because look at these numbers. But you know what game had even higher numbers? Helldivers 2, which was day and date. It's almost like day and date sells more copies than a really good delayed launch. It's almost like this entire tweet doesn't make sense if you think about it for 5 seconds. Bad Hombre says the PC gamer's starving for good games, hashtag PS5. I mean, we have almost all your games already. Like, Ghost of Tsushima is one of the last ones. Like, we already have Last of Us, we have God of War, we have Horizon, we have Spider-Man. Like what are you saying about your own PlayStation games if we already have them? And yet Ghost of Tsushima was the solution for PC gamers starving for good games. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have it both ways. And also, by this logic, doesn't that mean that the PlayStation guys are also starving for good games every time a new PlayStation exclusive comes out and sells well? Because if we're using your logic, yeah, that's what it means. But I have a feeling that when the next PlayStation exclusive comes out and sells well, you're not going to be saying that it was because you PlayStation guys are also starving for good games. I just have a feeling this is only going to apply to the PC for some reason, even though we have way more games than you. And we also have basically all of your games at this point as well. Like, either through emulation or official ports, all your games belong to us. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. Bethesda.net responds to the news, says PC day and date definitely happening. Gets a response from Jeffrey, who says their studios can't do day and date, that's why they bought a company to handle their ports, and that company can't do a port of all the games currently in development. Are you stupid? How do you think multi-platform game development works? Are you completely unfamiliar with the idea of a studio developing two versions of a game at the same time? Like, surely you can't be unfamiliar with that, because you know who develops multiple versions of a game at the same time? Sony. They developed PS4 and PS5 versions of many games at the same time. Sony Studios, I'm sure, with all of their funding and manpower, are more than capable of making two versions of the same game. They've just been choosing not to. But also, are you also completely unfamiliar with the idea of studios bringing in a second set of hands for different versions of the game? Because that's incredibly common industry practice. Like, it's totally common for that if a development studio doesn't have the time or resources or experience needed to get a certain platform's version of the game done, they bring in another team. And you said it yourself here that Sony already owns a PC porting studio. They own a really good one. So, genuinely, by your own logic, what's stopping them from day and date PC? Like, what technical reason is there that they can't do it? And all of this is aside from the fact that other AAA studios don't have any problem getting multiple versions of a game done on launch day. I don't know if you've noticed this, but having multiple versions of your game on launch day is kind of, it's something the industry's been doing for like 20 plus years now. Do I have to list off every AAA multi-platform release of the last 20 years to you? Like, just because Sony operates a certain way, that doesn't mean that the certain way they operate is industry standard. In fact, it's quite the opposite of that, which is why Sony's strategy has been changing the last few years. God, you people are so weird. Like, you can literally be staring at reality, and then you're just like, I'd rather not. Darth PSN registration says, stop promoting PC ports. Well, it's not like Sony promotes their PC ports either, so someone's got to do it. Sasuke says Steam players love open world, eye roll. And console players as well? Question mark? Like, open world games are the in thing right now. They've been that way for a few years. God, again, you guys are so weird. Open world game comes out on PlayStation and you're like, woo, it's awesome! And then open world game comes to PC and the PC gamers like it and you're like, ugh, PC gamers and their open world games. Like, oh, yeah, no, okay. Whatever you say, boss. Shiko responds to the news of the port doing well and says, what a joke you are. Does not make it a good port because of those reasons. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but I wasn't aware that anyone was saying that. Like, I wasn't aware that anyone was saying Ghost of Tsushima is a good port solely because it has high numbers of players. Like, if that was the logic we were using, that would mean Call of Duty has flippin' amazing ports every year. And holy cow, is that not the case? But, you know, whatever you need to dismiss the news. Like, whatever needs to be done in order to downplay PlayStation games doing well on PC. OP reports that a lot of people are playing and buying Ghost of Tsushima on PC, and you're like, yeah, well, that doesn't mean it's a good port. Like, first of all, no one said that it does make it a good port for that. But second of all, Ghost of Tsushima, by all accounts, is a good port. So, weird angle to take here. Marco says, good, it's a damn awesome game. Shame about the crybabies about the PSN requirement. Yeah, it's a shame people were just being crybabies about the game getting pulled from almost 200 countries to account for a multiplayer mode that didn't even launch with the original game. How dare PC gamers stick up for people that aren't themselves? Advocating for good practices in our market makes us crybabies, didn't you know? Okay, how about some posts that had nothing to do with the news? How about just some like good old straightforward PlayStation fanboy salt? Here's this one. Unleashed on launch day of Ghost of Tsushima on PC says, hot damn, Ghost of Tsushima has decimated Hellblade 2 on Steam on May 16th, way before Hellblade 2 was out. And also, Hellblade 2 isn't nearly as well known or mainstream as Ghost of Tsushima because it hasn't been getting praised for 4 years the way Ghost of Tsushima has. So obviously Ghost of Tsushima is selling better. But, you know, just remember to keep this energy when an Xbox game comes out on Steam and takes a higher sales spot than the latest PlayStation game on Steam. I just have a feeling you're not going to keep this energy. Nose tweets out, PC players, Ghost of Tsushima is awesome. Sony fanboys, it's 4 years old and a PS4 game. Do any of you genuinely like these games, or do you only like them because they're on PlayStation? This whole downplaying crap makes you look insanely shallow. And then @Saber0 responds, yes, that's why we didn't have to, nor would we wait 4 years for them. Enjoy our sloppy seconds. Okay, so you guys are just being totally open about this now. You just flat out say that you wouldn't have waited for this game. Like, you just flat out agree that you don't actually like the game. You agree that you only care that it was a PlayStation exclusive. Lots of very interesting tactics going around here today. Nose responds and says, you never cared for the game, and it shows. Saber0 responds, yes, I never cared about it. That's why I bought it day one, beat it twice, got the plat, spent over 300 hours playing. Yep, I did all that just because I don't care about it. Crying face, I didn't care, and I like millions of other PlayStation gamers who didn't care, aren't a part of the success. Laughing face. Bro, you literally just said you wouldn't have waited 4 years to play it. You clearly said that there is a problem with the game being 4 years old. You literally said in this last post you wouldn't have waited to play it. My guy, if you think a game's age has an inherent impact on its quality, you're just not a gamer. Like, you're just not. Also, I have a feeling that if this game didn't come to PC and had remained exclusive to PlayStation, you wouldn't actually have a problem with its age, you know? Just a gut feeling. Ugh, like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm on the fence about giving Sony any money for this game. I'm probably not going to because I'm just not stoked about it not being available in the non-PSN regions. Not having PSN is not a good reason to restrict people from experiencing the single-player content, especially since the multiplayer stuff didn't even launch with this game in the first place. But if you want PlayStation to grow as a brand, you have to get with the times, and the times are pretty clear. The PC, and multi-platform games in general, are the future. Console exclusivity is a dying practice. The money to sustain that practice is simply drying up. And there is so much money to be made on hardware that isn't made in one of Sony's factories, and Sony is finally realizing that. But also, if you're one of these people that just openly admits that they don't care about a game once it stops being exclusive, or that your opinion of a game deteriorates as it becomes more accessible, just know that you straight up are not a gamer. You're a corporate accessory. And if you want to be that, that's fine, just own it. But stop acting like you're anything more than that. It's just lame at this point. Find a new angle. Be innovative. Find a new way to be a fanboy. Because then I can make fun of you in new ways and I can stop getting kind of bored near the end of all my videos. Okay, toodles. So after Horizon Forbidden Dawn came to PC... Forbidden Dawn? That's not right. That's not right.
Marker.
So after Horizon Zero Dawn came to PC, it really shouldn't have surprised anyone that Sony had intentions to bring the next game in the series over once they deemed it appropriate to do so. Now, I'm not sure what made Sony think it was appropriate to port Forbidden West before Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, or Ghost of Tsushima, but that's the timeline we're living in, and I guess we just have to make the best of it. Even though I really don't want to. But yes, the timeline that you and I inhabit together is indeed going to be getting Forbidden West on Steam in the very near future. Apparently a, quote, complete edition for the game showed up on the Singapore ratings board before being removed, and then the whole thing was reported on by a number of insiders who claim the game will include the base content of Horizon Forbidden West and the DLC, and will release on both the PS5 and the PC, presumably on Steam and the Epic Games Store. So if you've been looking for a new sleep aid, you're in luck, dear viewer, because soon Horizon Forbidden West will be here to knock you unconscious in brand new ways, and frankly nobody should have been surprised by this, because if Sony didn't intend to release Forbidden West on PC, they wouldn't have ported Zero Dawn. It's the same reason why nobody should be surprised when Spider-Man 2 or God of War Ragnarok show up on Steam in the next year or two. But given the fact that we're living in the dumbest possible PlayStation timeline, not only is Sony rushing out Horizon ports before the games that PC gamers actually care about, but a certain segment of the PlayStation base is somehow surprised that this is happening, and they're mad about it. Who would have guessed that? Even though they absolutely should have seen this coming. And if these people really want what's best for Sony, like they say they do, I really don't understand why they're still mad about the fact that Sony is making a buttload of money off these relatively low-cost ports, going to a platform that doesn't even directly compete with them. So naturally, when the news of Forbidden West hitting the PC started to make its way around Twitter, the PlayStation diehards came out in full force against it, and I took screenshots because the Starfield salt may be old news, but god damn it if the PlayStation community isn't doing their best to make up for all that lost ground. Another PlayStation game on the PC. What happened to the great Sony, the exclusive company? Now you are paying more attention to PC users than to your own console. How sad. I love the PlayStation, but we are living in complicated times, which I miss the PS4 era. The fact that you think Sony being the exclusive company was ever a good thing kind of shows your hand here, but also in what universe is Sony not paying more attention to their console base than their PC base? Like, there's this weird idea that Sony is paying more attention to the PC because they port an older game every few months. I just don't understand this. PlayStation is number one on the priority list all the time for Sony. Like, how fucking entitled is this community that once Sony starts porting year-plus old games to a platform that doesn't even compete with you, you start crying that, Sony doesn't love us anymore. Like, fucking Christ. Sony is digging its own grave by this money-grabbing policy of PC ports. I feel betrayed as a longtime fan. At Shitbox, it is understandable that all games are on PC because of Microsoft, but Sony? Damn. By this logic, Sony doing literally anything is money-grabbing. Like, yeah, the PC ports make them money. Do you want them to stop grabbing that money? Or do you want everyone to be forced to buy a PlayStation in order to play those games? Which you somehow don't think is money grabbing. Like, just so we're clear, Sony puts older games on PC, money grabbing. Sony tries to force you to buy a console you don't want, not money grabbing. Okay. Yay, arrogant Sony is back. If they keep this up, they're gonna start losing market share too fast to react. It's how these things work, and it may be a few years away, but Sony better wake up. I love this. I've been talking for weeks now about how Sony is losing their way because of stuff like the PS Plus price hike, the console price hike, the $70 games, the peripherals that no one asked for, but only now do you think arrogant Sony is back. All that other stuff is fine. But once they announce a PC port of a cross-gen game from a year and a half ago, now it's arrogant Sony. I truly do not understand. And I really don't think you understand either. PC nerds love to feed our table scraps. We have left more than puppies and pit bulls do. Good luck on stealing games, you delusional PC nerd clowns. Why did you specify pit bulls? Like, you realize pit bulls also start as puppies, right? Like, look at my pity. This dude was a puppy once, but also good luck on stealing games. Well, Sony keeps putting money into porting games over here, so just think of how much we're winning on the PC if Sony is still investing in us despite all the thieves that you think share our ranks. Finally, PC players get to play something better than Starfield. The fucking irony of a PlayStation guy saying that we finally have something better than Starfield, but it was just a couple months ago when the entire PlayStation base was using Baldur's Gate 3 to demean Starfield, despite it literally being on PC and only PC at the time. And also, side note, how many of you PlayStation guys are actually playing Baldur's Gate? Like, just out of curiosity, if you are on Twitter hyping up Baldur's Gate 3 over Starfield on behalf of PlayStation, how many of you guys are actually playing it? Because for the longest time, Baldur's Gate was literally the only thing you guys were talking about, and then it dropped on PS5, and it was total crickets. Just an observation. Let's move on. Jim Ryan destroyed the PS4 Gen exclusivity rep that was a strong foundation for buying a PlayStation, made you feel unique as a consumer, raised PS5/PS Plus prices, raised PS5 games prices, barely any marketing/communication for months without news. Sean Layden, we all need you back. Again, really weird place to draw the line here. Like, yeah, you're right, PlayStation has jacked up the price of its platform with barely anything in return. but PC ports of PlayStation games have been a thing with this company for a long time. If anything, you should have noticed by now that they're not actually the thing hurting your platform, you know? Like, I truly don't understand how you can think porting games to PC after their hype window is somehow contributing to the degradation of the PlayStation brand in the same way that price hikes are. One game. I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy. Keep that in mind. I wonder how many feel this devaluates their PS5 purchase. Exclusivity has always been the selling point of the PlayStation console, and now so many titles are being ported to PC. Bro, if you were only buying the system for the exclusive games, this should be an absolute positive to you, because it means those games that you wanted aren't being held hostage by a piece of hardware that you were indifferent to, you know? Because if exclusivity is the selling point of the platform, that says way more negative about the platform than you realize. If that platform can't lean on the games that it holds hostage, that means it has to entice you in other ways. The platform has to improve. Dropping exclusivity is an objectively good thing for the consumer, but if you've been sucking off Sony for this long, I'm not surprised you can't see that. Nice, there's another 6,000 sales for Sony's first party on PC. Thumbs up. Yeah, I don't know where this comes from. This is another PlayStation fanboy mindset that I just don't understand the origin of. Like this idea that PlayStation games flop on PC. There's literally no evidence of this. All there is evidence that they actually do really well on PC. Because every single PlayStation game that comes to PC spends at least a week in the Steam top sellers list. And Steam is a gigantic platform. I know people put a lot of stock into Steam charts and concurrent players, and every new Sony PC port has to be compared to the absolute top of the top sellers, but I can't help but notice you guys don't seem to hold that same standard for new PS5 games, you know? Like the Ratchet & Clank PC port got a ton of shit for having some of the lowest concurrent player counts of any first-party Sony PC port. Never mind the fact that it was sitting in the Steam top 20 for like 2 weeks, so it definitely sold well. But we heard for weeks on end that Ratchet & Clank failed on PC because, you know, it didn't hit the same numbers as God of War and Spider-Man did on Steam. But the fucking PS5 version of Ratchet & Clank only sold a fraction of Spider-Man and God of War on the PlayStation, and no one seemed bothered by that in the slightest. The point I'm getting at is the only way that you can interpret Sony's PC sales numbers as bad is if you're looking at those numbers through a completely hypocritical lens. You guys weren't bothered by games like Ratchet & Clank and Returnal selling less than the heavy hitters on PlayStation, so why is it suddenly a mark against the PC when the exact same thing happens over here? And also, in case I needed to fucking spell this out, the concurrent player counts of a single player game have nothing to do with the number of copies sold. I don't know why people are still trying to act like those two things are connected. The concurrent player count of a single player game has almost nothing to do with the number of copies sold. Because if the game doesn't exist off of players populating servers together, of course the concurrent player counts are not going to be that high. You fucking doofus cake. Why does Sony hate their console so much? Again, how fucking entitled do you have to be to say Sony hates their own console just because they're porting a game from 2022 to the PC? Like, they're still releasing games on PS5 first, they're still snatching up third-party console exclusivity deals for the PS5. Literally all they're doing is porting some of their older games to the PC, a platform that doesn't directly compete with them. And now you're whining about how Daddy Sony doesn't love you enough. Like, fucking good lord. I own the game on PS5, never played it for this reason. Now, not everyone owns a PC or can afford it or afford to keep up with its maintenance, so if you own a PS5 and a PC, I would keep it for future exclusives. A game on my PC. Sorry, I really stopped paying attention after you said you bought the game but then intentionally didn't play it. Like, what the fuck? Hamburg. Who the fuck is calling me from Harrisburg? I thought it said Hamburg, it was Harrisburg. I don't give a shit either way. But like, what the fuck point are you getting at here? You complain that not everyone can afford to keep up with PC gaming, but you just openly said you bought a $70 game with no intention of playing it. Like, what? I traded my PS5 for weed. Smart man. What's the point of even buying a PlayStation these days if they're going to release all the exclusives on the PC in a few years' time? Yes, you're starting to catch on. Sony sucks at enticing you to their platform without holding games hostage. Perhaps you should stop supporting their platform until they fix that. You know, like how the open market is supposed to work. Only Gran Turismo left. Yes, Gran Turismo is the only Sony game left to port to PC. Just Gran Turismo. That's the only one that PC gamers want. And you know what? You know what's extra funny about this? We're probably gonna get Gran Turismo on PC before Bloodborne or Demon Souls. Like, fucking mark my words, that's going to happen. To be honest, releasing exclusive games on PC is destroying the fan base. Yeah, man, expanding the fan base sure is destroying the fan base. What? It honestly amazes me that there's still so much salt around PlayStation PC ports. Like, I really thought you guys would get it out of your system by now. But I mean, I guess, you know, the die-hard PlayStation fans are also the same people that were blindly shitting on Starfield for like 6 months. At least now we're getting some variety again, you know? So keep on the PC ports, because it's good for preservation, it's good for the market, and it's fantastic for my wallet. I fucking love making these videos. God, people like watching them too. Jesus, just God, it literally doesn't matter how many videos I make. I'm never gonna be able to end them. I don't know how to conclude videos. I don't. Here's this box of Cheez-Its. I'm gonna eat Cheez-Its, and I hate this. Okay, toodles. All right, so here's something I wasn't expecting. Out of the blue the other day, the powers that be went ahead and confirmed the PC port of Spider-Man 2 with a release date of January 30th. And like, the existence of a PC port of Spider-Man 2 is not surprising. It leaked a while back, and also Sony wouldn't have ordered PC ports of the other Spider-Man games if they weren't planning on putting this Spider-Man game on PC as well. But it was surprising because I thought for sure some other PC announcements would come first, like Gran Turismo or Demon Souls, or at least Last of Us 2 Remastered, which is a game that really only seems to exist as justification for future ports, but I digress. Spider-Man 2 is officially coming to PC on January 30th. The Steam page is live. Yes, you will need a PSN account to play this offline single-player game, so there's a big portion of the potential buying base completely X'd out. And this news also came along with confirmation that there will not be any story DLC for this game, so that's a big fat lull to all those plot threads you were hoping were going to get tied up. Little side note, I do find it fascinating just how much of a mess this game's handling seems to have been behind the scenes. Like, not only did it have an unreasonably high budget and a ton of cut content that was leaked, but it also seems like Sony didn't even turn much of a profit, if any profit, from this game once Disney and Marvel took their cut of the sales, which is mind-boggling considering how many copies were sold. So I'm honestly very interested to see how Sony adjusts their budgets going forward, assuming they learn any lessons from this at all, but anyways, I digress again. Another day, another PlayStation PC port, another batch of PlayStation diehards who took it way too personally that Sony wants to make money off their own games, so welcome to another episode of me making fun of all the PlayStation fanboys who absolutely melted down on Twitter the other day after this announcement. And oh my lord, I am so excited for the salt that's going to flow once Last of Us 2 is confirmed for PC, because that really seems to be the only thing that you can hold on to at this point if you're a PlayStation diehard, even though absolutely nobody wants that game over here. But anyways, let's just get into the Spider-Man 2 salt together. J-Dub says prepare for Spider-Man 2 PC Stutter Edition. Stutter, because the PlayStation version of Spider-Man 2 was running so well. That's why if you wanted the game to look good, it was capped at 30 frames. That's also why if you wanted the game to run at 60 frames per second, it looked like this. Like, we just kind of stopped talking about this. It was fascinating how this just got swept under the rug. The game looks like a PS2 game if you run it at 60 FPS during certain sequences, but anyways. I also love how we just swept under the rug how fucking buggy this game was at launch, but no, you know, tell me more about how the PC version is going to be the Stutter Edition. Ooh, it's the stuttery edition, not the PlayStation version. The PlayStation version runs like a dream, right? With a 30 FPS cap if you want it to not look like a PS2 game when things get too hectic, because God forbid console games give you graphic settings. No, the PC version is going to stutter, because when a PC game stutters from like 125 FPS to 115 FPS, that's somehow equatable to when a console game stutters from 30 to 25. Less frames makes stutters a much bigger problem, but I don't think you have a big enough brain to really comprehend that, so I will just move on. YMNISV1 says, when Spider-Man 2, a game that sold 11 million copies on one console, sells 80K on PC, maybe they'll have enough performance data to shutter that PC publishing LLC. I want to shut this down right now, okay? Not the publishing LLC, lol. I want to shut down the idea that PlayStation games don't sell well on PC because of their concurrent player counts. A lot of people like to use concurrent Steam player counts as some kind of indication that PC gamers are not buying PlayStation games or not playing PlayStation games. I want to shut you people the fuck up right now because you don't know how to read things. According to Sony themselves, here's some PC sales data on certain games. As you can see here, Horizon Zero Dawn sold 3.3 million copies on PC at the time that this presentation was presented. 3.3 million copies. You know what Horizon peaked at on PC? 49,000. The game that sold over 3 million copies didn't even get above 50,000 concurrent players. God of War, 2.5 million copies sold. What's that peak player count at? 73,000. Please shut the fuck up about concurrent player counts on single player games. They do not equate to sales, and you know it. Single player games do not exist on shared servers. They don't rely on shared servers. There is no incentive for a whole bunch of people to be playing the game at the same time. And as anyone who has ever played a video game can tell you, we all have games that we have bought, single player games that we have bought and that are sitting in our libraries that we have not touched yet. Or games that we bought, played a little bit, put it down, and are going to come back to it later. Or games that we bought, powered through, and then never touched them again. We will never contribute to the concurrent player count, but we still bought the game. Because if you actually play video games, you understand that many video games have a beginning, middle, and end. And once they're done, you're done with them. So this idea that like these games, they only sell like 80,000 on PC because the concurrent player count was 80,000. Yes, because everyone who bought the game in the entire world all logged on at the exact same time, and then another copy of the game was never sold. That's totally what happened. You fucking dunce. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. Darkborn says, so instead of making DLC, you guys decided to make a port for people who will just pirate your game and hack you guys again? This is funny because there definitely was DLC in the works for this game. We know that for a fact. It was canceled, and a pretty good reason why, or a pretty believable reason why it was canceled, was because the money that they made back on the sales of the game was not enough to justify the budget being so high, if you get what I'm saying. It doesn't matter that the game sold a whole bunch of copies. It doesn't matter that a whole bunch of people bought the game. Sony did not see it as financially feasible to keep going with the DLC's production. Which means, and this is the kicker, the reason you did not get DLC for this game is because Sony cannot manage their budgets. Sony fucked themselves here. It is their fault that you don't have DLC. But you're going to lash out because of a PC port, and not because Sony can't manage their own numbers. You're going to say that PC players are they're just gonna pirate the game, man. They're just gonna pirate why are you giving a game to the PC players? Why don't you redirect that anger towards the people who are actually responsible for your lack of DLC, which would be Sony, but you can't do that. Because you can't criticize Sony, because you are a child. Leo says, who's making the decisions at Sony about these things? God of War Ragnarok did less than 200K. This will bomb similarly. Why is Sony so eager to ruin the console business for what? What does porting these games bring to PlayStation owners and players, which is your core audience? Several things here. God of War Ragnarok on PC had a very strong start. especially considering the fact that Sony decided to launch it at full price in the middle of a work week because there are a bunch of fucking morons who don't understand release timing, which is also the reason why they absolutely cannot get a clear runway for any Horizon game. God of War Ragnarok is absolutely going to continue selling. It already had a very strong start and it will continue to sell because that is what single player games do. I don't know where you're getting 200k from, because I was under the impression that this game sold around 200k within the first few days, which again, it launched at full price in the middle of a work week and 2 days after Final Fantasy 16. So of course it wasn't as strong as it could have been, but that's not to say it wasn't strong. Just because it's not the best thing ever doesn't mean it sucks. But I also love this bit down here. What is it to gain? What are you gaining by doing PC ports? Little reminder of this little graphic from PlayStation themselves of how many millions of copies have been sold on these relatively low-cost ports. What is to be gained from that? I'll give you a hint. It starts with M and it rhymes with honey. The word is money. Sony gets money from these things, and they use that money to make more games. I thought that's what you wanted from them. But no, that's not what you wanted from them. You wanted more exclusives from them, didn't you? That's all you care about. You care about exclusives. You don't care about the company that owns your ecosystem having more resources to make you more things, or to potentially put that money back into their ecosystem to make it a better ecosystem or to improve that ecosystem. No, all you care about is having a list of games that no one else can play unless they give hundreds of dollars to the right corporation. That's what you care about, because you're an airhead and not a gamer. Moving on. SP says, Lamau, a PC port no one asked for, but not any DLC that people actually wanted. Right, nobody wanted Spider-Man 2 on PC. Nobody wanted Spider-Man 2 on PC. That's why several million copies of the first two Spider-Man games have sold on PC. Nobody wants Spider-Man on PC. Say what you want about Spider-Man 2 as a game. That's not even the point I'm making. This is just supply and demand. This is so obvious. What? PS5 Pro Max says PSN account and country availability crying, incoming January 25th. Just say louder that's not actually about the games to you. Country availability crying, implying that it's just whining and crying if a game is arbitrarily not sold in your country? It truly is just about bragging rights to you people. It's not about the games. You're not even trying to hide it. Country availability crying. Dude, yeah, if a game comes out that you want to play, but the publisher refuses to sell it to you because they're requiring an account that they refuse to let you make, that is so justified for criticism. And if you actually liked this game and cared about gaming, I would imagine you would also care about people being able to play the fucking game. But they can't, and you're laughing about it. This is sad. This is actually sad. Insomniac tweets out about the Spider-Man 2 PC announcement, and Popo responses, "You betrayed us, PlayStation console users."
I don't even know who you are.
BXN says, "No way y'all worked on the PC version while 11 million PlayStation users waited on one fucking DLC. Just cancel SM3 ATP." Yes, because all 11 million PlayStation gamers were going to buy the DLC. All 11 million of them. That's how DLC works. Yes, absolutely. Also, isn't Nixxes doing the PC port? Isn't it not even Insomniac's main project? I too don't read things before I put my opinion on them on the internet. Jean-Paul says, whenever I see someone named Jean-Paul, I just think of John Paul Jones from The fucking Bachelor. God bless John Paul Jones. You deserve better. Says, what's the fucking point of a PS5 and especially a PS5 Pro then? Kevin responds, consoles are for people who just want to play games without running into Windows update issues, driver update issues, BIOS issues, shader compilation stutter, and other just flat out wired problems. Pros for people who want the above with better performance. And Jean-Paul says, you buy a console for exclusive. If it has no exclusives, it's not worth it. So all the problems with what Kevin said aside, I would also like to point out that if you bought a console for exclusive games and nothing else, you are a stupid consumer. I don't care if that upsets you. You bought a console for no reason other than software that was held hostage on it. You don't care about the quality of the console, you don't care about the quality of the hardware, you don't care about the quality of the online, you don't care about the pricing of anything. You just wanted the exclusive games. If that describes you, you are a dumb consumer. That was not a smart decision. You cannot be upset about the fact that the exclusive games are no longer exclusive and now the platform has no value. You're the one that bought into the platform for an illegitimate reason. Maybe if you bought into the platform because of things like hardware, because of things like pricing, because of things like performance, because of things like online capabilities, maybe the whole platform would not lose its entire value to you because a handful of games that you allegedly like can now be played by more people. But again, you people are not gamers. You simply are not. You're corporate cheerleaders and nothing more. Harry T says, it's a crime to bring first-party PS5 games to PC before they get 4 years old. I guess they plan to also sell the DLC to PC gamers. No, they don't plan to sell DLC to PC gamers, and they're not going to sell it to you either. Maybe if you directed your anger towards Sony and their mismanagement of studios and budgets, you wouldn't be in this situation. But you're not going to do that. Bobby says, PC Master Race gets a year-old game that everyone has played and moved on from. Oh, today I learned that if a game is a year old, it's not actually good or worth playing anymore. So wouldn't that make it not a good game if it isn't worth playing after a year? Methinks you're telling on yourself, bucko. This one is from someone named The Goodman, and it just says PC players, and then a bunch of spoilers. I don't want to hear anything about how PlayStation guys really care about the games. They really care about these stories. They really care about people experiencing these great stories. Because we're literally just out here spoiling the game for people who didn't buy the right plastic box now. That's actually where we're at. Oh dear. One more. Waifu Hunter says, monkey CEOs everywhere. Have fun, end your brand sad, no words, what the fuck. It's a lot of words for someone with no words. Listen. If you're still surprised by games going to PC, I just don't know what to tell you anymore. And if you don't want Sony to make money off of their own products, maybe you don't really like the products as much as you thought. Just a wild, wacky observation of mine. But I can't help but feel like if you play these games and you're like, man, these games are awesome, I really like these games, and then more people get the opportunity to play the games and that upsets you, maybe it's not actually about the games to you. It might not actually be about the games to you. And if it's not about the games to you, that's fine. You should just say so and stop playing pretend. Okay, toodles. Of all the PlayStation exclusives to come out over the years, Ghost of Tsushima is one of the few I've actually wanted to come to PC for reasons other than preservation. I just really don't care for most of Sony's first-party output, but this game was always an exception, and I can't wait to get my mitts on it so I can play it at 144 FPS with all the nice visual enhancements and inevitable mods. Seriously, after seeing all the mods for God of War 2018, I am absolutely pooing myself at the stuff that's gonna come out for Ghost of Tsushima. And yes, I'm aware I'm a few days late on this one. The announcement of the PC port literally came out like an hour after I left to go to the airport for a little trip, so we're just gonna have to be late on this one. I still want to talk about it because frick it, I think it's funny. But rumors of a Ghost of Tsushima PC port have been floating around the internet for years now, but legitimate news started making its way around the World Wide Web on March 1st, when a gaming insider known as Special Nick stated that an official announcement of the PC port was around the corner and could be dropping as early as March 5th. The actual announcement came out on March 6th, but naturally a certain segment of the internet was mad about the prospect of a Ghost of Tsushima PC port even before it was confirmed, because in response to the March 1st rumors of a PC port, we had Will777JP saying no one cares about PC, just go bootleg a game like they always do and keep playing. PC players don't cherish anything. They want more frames than their eyes can even comprehend just for bragging rights on whose is more. And you spelled bragging wrong. But yeah, no, PC gamers just bootleg everything. We bootleg everything that comes out, which is why Palworld sold over 12 million copies on Steam, And Helldivers 2 reportedly sold over 60% of its copies on PC instead of PlayStation, despite ostensibly being a PlayStation game. PC gamers just bootleg everything. That's also why Sony and Microsoft have completely pivoted their first-party game strategy in order to accompany the additional sales of the PC market. You know, because we just bootleg everything. Shirai Ryu says, I think Sony is sabotaging itself. It should leave its games only on PlayStation. Yes, because meeting consumers halfway and selling more copies of your game as a result is an act of sabotage. Didn't you know? Selling your game to people who were never going to buy your hardware in the first place is bad for business and sabotage because ? What's Xbox says how to create a Tezar bomb step. Try to get your PC to run Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but if the PlayStation can run Ghost of Tsushima, the PC is more than capable of running Ghost of Tsushima. Like, are we really suggesting that this 2020 console game is going to give any modern gaming PC a hard time? You know, Iron Galaxy ports notwithstanding. Amon says PC bummers getting PlayStation goodies should be illegal. And then Grun responds, we just want Bloodborne, y'all been hogging it for 10 years. And Amon responds, is it that good? I don't like Souls games, but this one was mentioned religiously. I love this. You think it should be illegal for the PC to get PlayStation games, but you don't even play PlayStation games. Like, you're upset that Ghost of Tsushima is going to PC because, PlayStation games should not go to PC. And then someone brings up Bloodborne and you're like, oh, I haven't played that. Is it good? PlayStation guys tell on themselves more than any other community. It's insane. But naturally, now that the Ghost of Tsushima PC port is officially confirmed, people are even madder than they were before, and we've got plenty of fanboy salt to swim through together today, so pour yourself a little drink and let's have a little chuckle together, because seemingly no matter how much time goes by, or how many PlayStation games come to PC, it's just impossible for these people to start expecting it, or just start realizing that PC ports of your games is literally good for absolutely everyone. But let's just dive in, shall we? Yurabakin Abiden, I hope that's how you say your name, says PC owners don't deserve this. It would be better if they never had access to PlayStation games. Please cancel it. Yes, please cancel this port that's coming out in less than 3 months. Please don't let the companies involved make more money off a game that was already finished years ago. Please don't let this art be preserved and made more accessible to another platform. Please don't take this video game and unlock its potential with better graphics and a better frame rate and the potential for mods to make the experience even better. Please don't do any of those things, because PC owners don't deserve it. That's just it. We don't deserve them. No actual business reason for you wanting this to be canceled. No actual bigger picture reason for it to, for this game to not go to PC. It's just because PC gamers don't deserve it. Only difference between you and me is you gave hundreds of dollars to Sony and I didn't. So I don't deserve this piece of art made by someone who didn't even make the box that you're talking about. You're a doofus. SJ says worst thing is a lot of PC players pirate games, which I think is ironic because this game initially came out on the PS4 back when the used game market was still a very big presence in the economy of the gamers. Like, you are aware that used games make Sony just as much money as a pirated game does. There were a lot of people doing this stupid routine, the whole PC gamers don't buy games thing. Here's another one. Anthony says, okay, the majority of PC players are just going to pirate the game, and pirate is capitalized for some reason. But just in case the whole Pal World and Helldivers thing that I brought up earlier in the video doesn't do it for you, literally within hours of the announcement of the PC port and of the Steam page going live, it hit the global top 5 on Steam. Like, with just pre-orders. Just pre-orders, this game was in the Steam top 5 within hours of existing. But yes, tell me more about how PC gamers don't actually buy games. Cappy on the Move says, stop porting our exclusives to PC, you fucking C words. And I have to say C words. You guys want some fun, like, behind the scenes here? Let me give you a little fun thing about YouTube. I can say the F word right there as much as I want. And I will never get demonetized for that. But if that word, that C word right there, if I say that, instant demonetization. It happened to me a few weeks ago. I said the C word, the dreaded C word, for the first time, like, ever in a video, and was instantly demonetized But all my other swears in my entire life, those are totally fine. Anyways, but I love this, like, stop porting our exclusives. They're ours. We made them, except no, you did not. Like I said to the other stupid doofus, you didn't actually do anything to deserve these games. They're not your games. You just gave hundreds of dollars to the right corporation to have access to these games. They were never promised to you. They were never, like, betrothed to you. And if you really think the games are good, if you think the games are, like, should be held in such high esteem and should be desired by everybody, why would you not want more people to play them? Cappy gets a response from Tensei. Says, yeah, honestly, I don't care about the other exclusives, but this was one I didn't want ported just because I feel like people should experience this on PlayStation, but that's my opinion. Okay, so your opinion, which is garbage, by the way, your opinion is that this game, if it was completely the same on the PC, it's not going to be, but if it was, if all the graphics were the same, all the frame rate caps were the same, all the settings were the same, everything was the exact same on the PlayStation, or on the PC rather, the same on the PC as they were on the PlayStation, and I played it with a DualSense controller, or I play it with whatever controller that you think is the right PlayStation one, genuinely, how would the experience be better on the PlayStation? Give me literally a single reason. And, like, that's not even what's going to be happening, because the Ghost of Tsushima port is going to have better graphics, it's going to have higher frame rates, it's going to have more controller options, it's going to have ultra-wide support, it is going to be an objectively better experience on the PC. And you say yourself, you don't care about the other PC, you don't care about the other PlayStation exclusives going to PC, but this one needs to be experienced on the PlayStation. One word, why? Why? Truly, why? By every objective metric, it is going to be better on the PC. By every subjective metric, it's going to be better because more people get to experience it. More people get to play it. It gets to be preserved. All those other things that aren't objectively measurable, but are still a very big factor into why this would be done. And you say yourself, you didn't really care about it on the other games. You didn't care about it on The Last of Us or God of War or Horizon. But this one's special to you. This one needs to keep that frame rate cap. This one needs to keep that graphical cap. This one needs to be restricted to a certain aspect ratio, no ultra-wide support, because it's just that good without it. This one needs to be stuck on a DualSense controller. You cannot use another controller to play this game. You can't use mouse and keyboard to play this game. Go kick yourself in the nuts if you want to do that to play this game. God, you people are so weird. C-Rod says, nice, finally PC gamers can finally experience greatness from Sony. It's not greatness from Sony, it's greatness from Sucker Punch. I really, really hate when people do this. If a movie comes out and you really like the direction and the acting and the writing, no one praises the fucking producer. That's not how this works. But for some reason with games, Sucker Punch puts out a game, but Sony was paying their checks and Sony put their logo on the box, and you're like, oh yes, thank you, Sony, for this game. Literally all Sony did was pay the bills and hold the game hostage so no one else could have it. And you're thanking Sony for that? You're attributing the creative decisions of Sucker Punch and the writing of Sucker Punch and the gameplay of Sucker Punch, you're attributing the greatness that this game is to Sony, just because they cashed a big enough check and they have their hand far enough up your butthole. God, dude, wake up. DJ says, hell yeah, now we wait for Bloodborne. Bloodborne-y. There were a few PlayStation fart faces that actually started going on to Steam and posting on the Steam forums about Ghost of Tsushima, and these were just pathetic, because when in doubt, when Twitter is not giving you enough attention, go directly to the source. Someone named Sizer posts on the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut discussions board on Steam and says, y'all happy now? Those who always complain about other ports coming and not this one, you finally satisfied? Yeah, I don't know what you mean. But yes, I am satisfied. I wanted to play this game and now it's coming to my platform. I was literally never in my entire life going to give Sony money for their console or for this game until they put it on my platform. Now I will give them money for it. The fact that it's hard for you to understand why Sony would do this is baffling. Neko posts on the Steam forums, PC players are the worst. You ruined my life as a PlayStation gamer. You and your port begging has killed the PlayStation. Are you guys happy? You killed millions of players who invested in the best gaming console for only you to go and kill it with your port begging. When will this oppression against PlayStation gamers end? Oh lordy.
That's a troll. That's a troll. I'm gonna keep telling myself that because like this one, I'm like 99% sure it's a troll. The only reason I say 99% though is because look at everything else that we've talked about in this video. People are losing their minds. Here's a real one. He says, don't buy this. Sony is playing with us real fans who bought the game back in 2020. It's a betrayal. We feel stabbed in the back. Don't support this. Don't buy. Let them take a loss and regret that decision. PlayStation 5 will always be the definitive platform to play Ghost of Tsushima. Wait a second, but if you played Ghost of Tsushima in 2020, you played it on the PlayStation 4. Also, if you are a real fan of this game, why are you upset that more people get to play it? Real fans of this game, I'd imagine, would be happy that more people get to play it. I think the only people complaining about this game going to other platforms are the fake fans, or perhaps the people who are more of a fan of PlayStation than they are of the games. Oh my goodness, you people are so goofy. Here's another goofy one from the other side of the aisle. In response to the announcement that Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC, he says, Xbox keeps winning. Xbox and PC are two different platforms. The PC and Xbox are not the same. They are not part of the same ecosystem. The Xbox exists to an extent in the PC ecosystem, but it is not the other way around. Xbox is not the PC, okay? PC is not Xbox. Just because PC gamers throw Xbox a few shekels, that doesn't mean that the two platforms are now the same. Ghost of Tsushima going to PC is not a win for Xbox. That's fucking stupid. Naive Lakers fan, the word naive is in your username, then you're gonna say this. I don't appreciate when PlayStation exclusives go to PC. I love the idea that you can only experience games like Ghost, Last of Us, God of War, etc. on PlayStation. It ruins that special thing about it. I don't know, bro. It feels corny to me. So it's corny to put games on more platforms so more people can play them and the companies can make more money. That's corny. But what's not corny is saying that the experience is ruined on the PlayStation if it exists somewhere other than the PlayStation. That's not corny to you. Also, basketball is boring. Watch a better sport. One more. Jason says, some about to spend $50 for a game that's been on PlayStation Plus for 2 years now. All to play on some trash laptop with garbage LCD. Now let's get in attendance and the replies for the port beggars who have a 30 or 40 series card and got hurt when I didn't even talk about them. Let me get this straight. If you're playing the game on PC with something other than a 30 or 40 series card, then it's worth mocking. But if you play it on a 30 or 40 series card, then it's fine. But on a not 30 or 40, this is... Bro, we're getting a little fucking spiderweb, fucking Madam Webby with how we're talking shit now. You guys are running out of ideas. I think it's funny when you're so desperate to talk shit that you preemptively defend yourself from criticism in the shit talk, in the same exact post. Because you're like, imagine spending $50 for a game. But if you're on a 30 or 40 series card, I wasn't talking about you. But also, just throwing this out there, talking shit about people's specs in regards to a game that was on the PlayStation 4, it's a weird move. You people are all doofuses. Every single one of you. Every single one of you is a doofus. Unless I say otherwise, you're a doofus. I am excited to play Ghost of Tsushima on my PC. I think it's going to look really pretty. It's going to be really fun. And just to make more people upset, in case you're still on this video, I'm gonna play it with a 360 controller because I like the 360 controller. Maybe I'll play it with a GameCube controller just so I can say that I did, and because it upsets you people for some reason. Oh man, you people are weird. Sorry for taking so long to get to this topic, but we're here now, and we had some chuckles along the way. And yeah, toodles. It's been quite a salty time for PlayStation fanboys. First, there was the whole fiasco with the PS5 Pro being a complete scam of a machine, and then there was the launch of Final Fantasy XVI on PC a few days ago, which I was going to make a video about, but then like 12 hours later it was confirmed that Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered is also coming to PC in the ultimate act of redundancy. But now here we are again with yet another first-party PlayStation exclusive getting ported to the PC, and once again the PlayStation dudes are losing their minds
minds about it for some reason, as if they didn't know this was coming, or as if they don't think it's actually a good thing for them and for their side of the market and for the preservation and widespread recognition of games they claim to like. If you think Ragnarok is a good game, I'd imagine you want more people to play and experience it, yes? And with Sony acting like a bunch of dorks with their hardware pricing, I would think that you would be open to people having an additional option to experience this game that you think is really good, right?
Right? Wrong!
Also, hilariously, the PC version of Ragnarok, at least at the time that I'm making this video, is more feature complete than the PlayStation version, by which I mean the PC version of this game has the option to turn down puzzle hint frequency, and the console version does not. I guess Santa Monica Studios just wanted to beat the modders to the punch with that one, since that was 100% the first thing that was gonna get modded out. I mean, I'm not even mad. That's some S-tier self-awareness from a first-party PlayStation developer. Like, you can either be Insomniac, who sees everybody hates the Mary Jane missions in Spider-Man 1, but then decides to double down on them in the sequel, or you could be Santa Monica Studios, who sees that people hate the puzzle hints in Ragnarok, and then decide to just rip them out before the modders feel the need to do it themselves. One of these studios is much more in tune with what people want from them, but I digress. The PlayStation dudes are losing their minds about Ragnarok coming to PC, because it really was one of their last bragging points for the PS5, which I always thought was strange because it's been multi-platform from day one. Like, this game launched on the PS4. It literally was never a true PS5 bragging point, but now that it's on PC, suddenly this is a giant blow to the PS5. It's like, I don't know, dude. Let's just look at some salty screenshots and have a chuckle together, because the flippin' Sony salt train truly never stops chugging. And no, I'm not using Ragnarok PC gameplay in this video because I would prefer my audience stays awake during my content. VGI Mark responds to PlayStation tweeting about Ragnarok's PC port and says, "To what? 10 to 20,000 players? And that's being extremely optimistic." Well, the game launched on a Thursday morning and it's already better than your estimate. So maybe stop being a fucking whiner baby.
Whiner babies.
Also, concurrent players don't mean shit for a single player offline game like this, because people buy single player games and then play them at their own pace. There's no shared servers, there's no incentive for people to be all on at the same time. PlayStation dudes love using the Steam concurrent player counts as a beating stick whenever it suits them, even though they don't understand that concurrent players has basically no correlation with copies sold for single player games, regardless of platform. Ragnarok is a top-selling Steam game right now, but obviously everyone buying the copies to get it to be at the top of Steam, like, not everyone who bought a copy is playing it right in the launch window because it's a Thursday morning, you dork. But even by your own snarky estimates, you're proven wrong, because there's almost 23,000 people playing the game right now in the middle of a work day. It's almost like PC gamers do indeed buy the Sony games, because if they didn't, Sony would stop releasing them on PC, but you just can't handle that for some reason. So you insist on putting a stupid amount of stock into the concurrent player counts because you don't understand how concurrent player counts actually work. You people always do this, and you're always wrong. At Lodrosk responds to Santa Monica Studios themselves tweeting about the PC port, and Santa Monica Studios says, "God of War Ragnarok is now available to play on PC. Thank you all for your support." And then at Lodrosk responds, "Absolutely no PlayStation fan asked for that." This is such a twerpy thing to say in direct response to the game's developer. Like, the developer tweets out that there's a new version of the game and that they're excited for people to play it, and they're thanking people for their support on this new version of the game, and then you respond to them saying the corporate PlayStation shills didn't ask them to do the thing. Like, you're getting offended on behalf of Sony, which is a company that had nothing to do with any of the actual artistic creation of the game, and who is also the company that greenlit this new version of the game, and you're trying to hold this over the head of the people who actually did do something artistic for the creation of the game. And you genuinely think you're in the right about all this. It's so twerpy. EchoBlade Z7X also responds to Santa Monica Studios and says PC doesn't deserve these games, facepalm emoji. Again, such a bizarre thing to write in response to the developers of the game that you hold in such high esteem. Santa Monica Studios makes this game. You think their game is really good. And then Santa Monica Studios gets excited for more people to play the game, and then you jump in to say PC gamers don't deserve the art they made. You like the art, you think it's good art, you think it's high quality art, but also PC gamers don't deserve to partake in the art for the sole reason of not giving hundreds of dollars to the right corporation. Do I have this right? Ugh, PC gamers don't deserve this game. But why do you? Why do you deserve it? Because the only difference between you and me as consumers is the fact that you bought a PlayStation and I didn't. If you think that should be a deciding factor in whether or not Santa Monica Studios should be able to sell their art, or whether or not someone is worthy of partaking in said art, you're just kind of a dick. No, you're a lot of a dick.
You know the last time I looked at a dick? Last night. This morning.
At Alex responds to Sony and says the end of PlayStation. No more exclusive games, so the only reason to buy PlayStation is gone. I love this idea that exclusive games are the only thing that make a console successful or not successful. I would like to point your attention to the Wii U, a console with fantastic exclusive titles, but that completely flopped because the exclusive titles were all it had going for it. Everything else about it was subpar. I'd also like to point your attention to the PlayStation 3, a console that had some banger exclusive titles, but also had an extremely slow start because the console itself was not seen as being worth the price tag, and even after the PS3 got a price drop, a lot of people didn't see the console as being worth the purchase. Almost as if the hardware and the console were not getting as much love as the software on the console. I'd also like to point your attention to the GameCube and the Dreamcast and the Saturn, 3 consoles with some excellent exclusive games, especially the GameCube, but all 3 of those consoles failed to meet sales expectations because of various factors regarding the consoles themselves. I'll put this in very plain terms. If the exclusive games are the only thing good about a console, that means it's a shit console, and you shouldn't have bought it. If the console cannot stand on its own 2 feet without holding software hostage, the console does not deserve to succeed. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. Darth PSN registration says, you fucking suck for porting exclusives to PC. You did nothing for PlayStation gamers this generation but squeeze us for every penny. Who is running PlayStation? Some clown anyway. I love this. So PlayStation did nothing this generation except squeeze you for every penny. But also, PlayStation hasn't been releasing many exclusive games. You're upset about the lack of exclusive games. So what were they squeezing you with? The PSN price, you could have just not paid it. The console prices, you could have just not bought the console and switched to PC because it's not like the exclusive games are flowing. Like, we can absolutely accuse Sony of being overpriced and greedy, but if they successfully squeezed you dry, you don't really have anyone to blame but yourself. And ironically, you say Sony sucks for porting games to PC, but if you had just switched over to PC, Sony literally would not have been capable of squeezing you for every penny. Just an observation. Let's move on. Average Joe says PC gamers said not to buy the PS5 Pro, better buy this game. Don't steal it like everything else. Wait, so if you thought the PS5 Pro was overpriced, and if you said you shouldn't buy it, now you have to buy Ragnarok? Fucking why? What if it's not your kind of game? Like what the fuck do these two things have to do with each other? Ugh, if you criticize Sony for this one thing, you better give Sony money for this other thing. Like, alternatively, fuck yourself? Echo Blade responds to Sony and says PC doesn't deserve these games. And yes, this is the same guy who said this exact same thing to Santa Monica Studios. Again, what the fuck did you do to deserve the games, you know? Like, what did you do that I didn't do to make you deserve it and me not deserve it, other than give hundreds of dollars to Sony? Like, you know Herman Hulst isn't going to fuck you, right? Like you know that's not going to happen. Nansha849 says, fuck you, so you're telling me I paid for your console only for God of War and y'all re-release it on PC? Crazy idea, but if you paid hundreds of dollars for God of War and nothing else, you're kind of part of the problem. Like, you could have just waited. I can't think of a single game, like, ever, that would have made me buy a whole ass console for it. Maybe I'm in the minority, and maybe that's just a byproduct of me being on PC for so long, because I totally used to be more invested in console exclusive games. I used to be a console player, and exclusive games definitely played a part in which console I bought when new consoles came out, but even back then, I never once had the thought of, oh man, these exclusive games better not go anywhere else. Like, fuck no, dude. I was like, man, I sure do enjoy Halo. I wish my friends on PlayStation could play it. Man, I'm really enjoying Gears of War 3. I wish my buddies on PlayStation could play it. Like, I've literally never had this mindset of being angry about exclusive games going to another platform just because I owned the platform that they were exclusive to at one point. Even when I was actively invested in console exclusive franchises, this was never a mindset I had. It's so strange. Skull Viking says, stop the PC ports already. No. Boats and Hoe Stack says, looks like garbage compared to the PS5 version maxed out, with hidden shaders, hidden textures, and hidden lighting effects, aka path tracing graphically, lads. Stop porting our games to this peasant platform who's trying to stop sales of your console, the PS5 Pro. Like, do I even have to entertain this? Do I even have to act like the PS5 version of this game is somehow visually superior to the PC version? The PC version's been out for like 6 hours, and we're already seeing some incredible tech tests on it. Like, what are you looking at? What are you smoking? Can I have some? What are you looking at that's making you think the PC version of Ragnarok looks like shit compared to the PS5 version? Are you looking at low spec gameplay or like low setting gameplay, like potato build gameplay? Because the PC version of Ragnarok running on a competent PC looks at worst the same as the PS5 version. Like, to my understanding, this is a solid port. I truly don't get what you were looking at to get this impression, unless you were just watching Twitter videos with shit compression or something. I don't understand it. It sounds to me like someone's just bitter that PC gamers aren't gonna go buy a PS5 Pro. Which, of course we're not going to. Why is this even in question still? Like, get over it. It's not gonna happen. One more. JE says, too much pandering to PC cucks who just pirate your game anyway, and not enough loyalty shown to your real customers who actually use PlayStations. You just feed them remasters. Couple things. First of all, PC gamers absolutely buy PlayStation games. Sony makes a pretty stupid amount of money off the PC market. If they didn't, they wouldn't keep releasing new games over here. But aside from that, literally every new Sony PC port hits the top 10 of the Steam charts when it comes out, and several Sony PC ports continue to hold top 25 and top 50 spots, or jump into top 25, top 50 spots when they go on sale. Like, the PC ports of Sony games sell great initially, consistently, and then a lot of them continue to sell great over time. You can literally just look at the Steam charts and see this for yourself. People definitely pirate these games too, that's inevitable, but Sony probably doesn't care much about the pirates when they're making as much money as they are off of these relatively low-cost ports. But in addition to all that, maybe your abundance of loyalty to PlayStation is the reason you're not getting much from them this generation. Maybe Sony knows that they can basically do whatever they want and charge whatever they want, and you and people like you will go along with it, so why would they try? Of course they've stopped trying to win you over. They've got you hooked. Why would they put in effort if you've proven to them you're going to eat up whatever they give you regardless of their effort? And on top of all that, maybe they would stop feeding you remasters if you stopped buying them. Last of Us 2 Remastered was literally pointless, and yet it sold pretty damn well. You should be embarrassed by that, because you really have no one to blame but yourselves at this point. You ate up everything Sony threw at you, you paid whatever they told you to pay, and now Sony is arrogant. You have two options here as a consumer. You can either bow out of Sony's ecosystem and force them to not be arrogant, or you can continue supporting them like you are and they will continue to be arrogant because you're not giving them any reason to stop being arrogant. You have a tremendous amount of power as a consumer in the gaming industry. The gaming industry is extremely influenced by the people who are buying the games and buying the hardware. I think much more than other industries. Like, I think the consumers have a much more immediate and drastic influence on what gets made by the big publishers, by the people with the big bucks in the gaming industry. If you wanted change, you could make it very quickly, but you are choosing not to, so you cannot blame anyone but yourself when change doesn't come. In conclusion, you're stupid. Toodles. So the days are going by, we're inching closer to the PC release of Stellar Blade, which was one of the last real PS5 exclusives. I mean, between this and Demon's Souls, that's really kind of it at this point. Not that that's a bad thing, because console exclusives are dumb and outdated and anti-consumer, and it's just a method of corporations holding hardware hostage instead of having to actually compete and improve said hardware. And also just with Sony's strategy towards PC games, a PC port of Stellar Blade was inevitable, especially since this isn't actually a first-party game. If it was a first-party game, frankly, I think it would have come sooner. But the demo for Stellar Blade's PC port has been released. It's being received rather well, and a couple things are happening right now that I find to be made out of comedy. For starters, the game's director came out and fully endorsed mods, which was an amazing thing to see from a game developer of this high of a stature. Usually mods are seen as like this big evil dastardly thing, and you see console fanboys a lot of the time say mods are destroying the integrity of the game or whatever, or what are they called? What do they call them? A digital vandalism. And I always thought this was very silly. You know, I've never been a game developer, but as a musician, I would imagine a developer's attitude towards mods is the same as my attitude towards remixes. If you make a remix of a song that I made, I think that's neat. I may not like the remix, I may prefer my version of it, but the fact that you heard my song and thought of something else that you could do with it, or some way that you could, in your perspective, improve upon it and make it even cooler to you, I think that's cool. It doesn't replace the original. I'm glad you're finding enjoyment out of it. That was my not so subtle plug of my music. Go listen to Curbside Anthem on Spotify and Apple Music. We're like bowling for soup on steroids. And follow us on Instagram for some show announcements in the near future, especially if you're going to be in Hollywood in the month of October. Winky winky pluggy pluggy. But during a conference, the game's director was asked what he thought about mods, to which he responded, quote, "First of all, I fully support the phenomenon of players using mods. In fact, I myself also want to try out some of the more exciting mods." The more exciting ones, you say? I look forward to seeing many players create their own mods and engaging in healthy competition with them to see whose mods are more attractive. The more attractive ones, you say? I also hope that more players can get involved with mod creation. And as someone who loves PC gaming, as someone who loves mods, this is an amazing stance for a AAA developer to have. And like, you can say that this is just about the goons out there, the goon squad, the fucking Batman Arkham City goons are coming around and they're gonna goon everywhere. But I'm looking at this from a much broader perspective. A broad perspective, you say? Mods do a lot more than just add boobies to everything, or in the case of Resident Evil 4, cocks. A lot of people use mods to improve the gameplay, to improve the performance, to improve the experience overall, to finish the work that the developers may not have finished, or something that the developers may not have thought of. And a lot of the greatest games ever made started out as mods. We simply wouldn't have games like Counter-Strike if not for mods. We wouldn't have games like Arma if not for mods. The entire Battle Royale craze would have never began if not for mods. So to have a AAA developer so openly come out in support of a modding community that doesn't even exist yet for his game, but is aspiring to exist, that's awesome. His game's not even out yet and he's already endorsing the mod scene. That is amazing. But you clicked on this video You clicked on this video because PS5 fanboys were in the title. And yes, PS5 fanboys are in the title of this video, because, would you believe it, they're really upset about this PC port. Partially because it was one of the last remaining PS5 exclusives, but also partially because Shift Up as a developer seemed very excited about this PC port. The PC port seems to be going over rather well. Apparently Shift Up expects the PC port to outperform the PlayStation port. The PC port is going to be much more feature complete than the console port, both because of official features and now the openly supported mod community, and you mix all those things together, and what you have is a whole bunch of people who care way too much about PS5 exclusives, caring way too much about the PC port of this game that isn't even a first-party exclusive. So first, we're going to take a look at the responses to this post talking about the endorsement of mods, and then we're just gonna mosey on over to this post from the official PlayStation Twitter, because my goodness, people are upset about this port. It's been a while since we had a nice old-fashioned PlayStation Fanboys Twitter salt video, so here we go. Strap yourselves in, drink yourself some coffee, turn on your second monitor, get a picture of one of the goons from Lego Batman, make him full screen on your second monitor, and let him watch over you. Let's begin. Dax Razor Unplugged, ooh, hardcore name, says, this is going to be unpopular. Endorsing modding of their new release games are developers admitting they made a bad product or not the one people want, and that it needs free assistance to fix it or make/keep it relevant. It's not some fans love it so they want to make it their own situation. It's a trend of putting out games that rely on the community to be relevant or even get traction through mods. It's pandering to a small slice of gamers who make a decision to play a game based on the mods it has. Once you stop supporting/patching/expanding a title, it should be available for modding. All games should.
Well, that was a load of shit.
Oh man, so I was going to do a big long rebuttal of this, but someone actually beat me to it, and they have the best use of Twitter Blue, like, unlimited characters I've ever seen. So here comes fucking Not Nib, who says, I'm impressed. I've never seen someone jam 5 logical fallacies in one single post before. Let's go through it. Hasty generalization. You ignore the diverse reasons a company may have for being supportive of mods and make it about gamers fixing their games for them. This intentionally ignores the fact that there can be a number of other reasons they might be interested in supporting it. This is true. Video games are an interactive medium, so why wouldn't you give gamers the tools to interact with it more than they already can? I can understand some developers are very stingy about letting people do what they want with the game, because some developers nowadays don't understand what the word game means. Oh, hi Neil Druckmann, I didn't see you there. I wasn't even thinking about you when I was talking about game directors who don't know what video games are. How weird it is that you're in my house. Can you please leave? But if you're making something that is made to be, like, interacted with in a unique way, in a personal way to the player, why not add mods? Video games are an inherently creative and inherently interactive medium. Creative and interactive. Why not endorse mods? False dichotomy. Similar to the hasty generalization, this ignores other reasons, suggesting that modding support can only be an attempt to make the community fix their game or a cynical ploy to artificially lengthen the engagement of the game. This ignores the fact that other intentions can exist, and it doesn't have to solely be an either-or situation. That's a good point. There's a million reasons why you might want mods in your games. This is just like 2 of them. Strawman argument. You dismiss the idea of game studios wanting to encourage player creativity, writing them off as lazy, but you ignore games like Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy that were intentionally left open to modders to encourage creativity, proving the very thing you dismiss as a non-factor. I will also bring up games like Super Smash Bros. Melee, a game that is modded to hell, despite Nintendo actively trying to not make it modded to hell. Point being that the developer's original intent regarding mods is irrelevant to whether or not people mod it. Because you can have a developer intentionally leave the game open for mods, or you can have a developer actively try to suppress any and all mods. Either way, mods will exist for a myriad of reasons, because it's not that fucking simple. Slippery slope. You imply that relying on mods will lead to a reduction in game quality, ignoring the fact that game quality has already been on a downward trend without this, such as the prevalence of day one patches. You seem to be suggesting that this will lead to a chain of events that will lead to studios not even bothering to patch games due to mods, but many games such as Skyrim prove this false. Not much to say there, you nailed it. Appeal to motive. You are questioning or finding the issue with the motive behind this act rather than the actual impact of the action to criticize the action. His action support of mods seems immaterial to you and its effects, more concerned with speculative intentions of someone that you don't know and know nothing about, and using that imagined and speculative motive to criticize the action. It's not that this is an unpopular opinion, this is an unpopular statement because it is poorly reasoned. Everyone fucking round of applause here. Round of fucking applause. I don't hear you clapping. I need you to clap louder. Clap louder or Neil Druckmann will be in your house. Scion Storm says, notice he said healthy, so no degenerate stuff, lol. Weird idea. If you don't want degenerate mods on your game, don't download them. Like the game hasn't changed. Just if you don't like the mods that are coming out, just don't download them. 61i says, dude knows Eve is about to get violated even if he tried to stop it. It's already happening and sucks because this PC dorks are going to pornofy Stellar Blade, ruin a fantastic game with perversity. Are you suggesting that there was no porn of this game or degeneracy with this game prior to the PC port? Like, is that really what we're saying right now? Like, you say it right here, like, ugh, Eve's gonna get violated. It's already happening. The game's not out on PC yet. That hasn't happened yet, actually. So, if this is happening now, it's not the PC gamer's fault, actually. I think you may have just told on yourself a little bit. Macross420 says, you PC perverts. Again, filth of this game has existed for a long time now. And the PC port is not out. So, I think we can put together the puzzle here. It's not that PC gamers are especially horny or especially gross. Maybe there are horny people and gross people everywhere. The PC just has an easier time accessing that horniness and grossness. Like, are we really suggesting that if the PS5 community had access to gross mods, that they wouldn't be utilizing them? Is that really where we're going right now? Because I think anyone would tell you that's a very stupid place to go. And yet, here it is. But I say it again, if you don't want gross content in the game via mods, don't download the mods. You have agency here. I know you're a console player and are therefore scared of agency in your games, but that's the reality. Moving on to this post from PlayStation, where they were promoting the PC demo, and people got very angry. Because before, we were mad about mods, right? We were mad about the potential of mods in this game. Now we're just mad about the game existing on PC at all. So these are where the things get real spicy. Have a glass of milk on hand, because spice. That's what you do, right? You drink milk to like ease spicy food. I don't know, I'm white, and therefore everything is spicy, and also I just like drinking milk. At Low Ping Line says, at PlayStation, you don't have to at PlayStation if you're responding to PlayStation. You will end up just like Xbox, an undesirable hardware that no one buys. It is just a matter of time. Which I think is funny, because Stellar Blade is one of, what, a whopping 2 PS5 exclusives that you even have, and yet all the PlayStation dudes are, like, running around the town square and parading the PS5 sales numbers around. So, like, do exclusives matter or not? You can't have it both ways. Is the PS5 selling super well despite its lack of exclusives? Or is the lack of exclusives hurting the sales of the PS5? Well, you're not going to say that the PS5 sales are hurting because you guys think PlayStation is still a desirable piece of hardware, as evidenced by you right here saying it's going to end up an undesirable piece of hardware. So it's a desirable piece of hardware now, despite the lack of exclusives. So, what's your point? I've said it once and I'll say it a million more times. If a console is only appealing to you because of a handful of games it holds hostage, and if you take those games away, not even take them away, just give other platforms access to those games are no longer exclusive to the hardware. If the hardware loses all value because you did that, it wasn't a good piece of hardware. Like, end of story. If you're deciding between 2 pieces of hardware and the only determining factor is software that's held hostage arbitrarily, that means the hardware sucks. If you're choosing between hardware A and hardware B, and you would go with hardware B if not for the handful of exclusive games on hardware A, that means hardware A is a bad purchase. Grant says, or you can just buy a PS5 and you won't have to wait for any more awful PC ports in the future. Get the message, Sony. Real PlayStation fans do not like or want these PC ports. Shut down PlayStation PC. Oh, real PlayStation fans don't like it. Real PlayStation fans. So, you know, the fans that play the game and really enjoy the game, they don't like that more people get to play the game. But they're the real fans. So just so we're all on the same page here. The real fans are the fans that play the game and like the game and are fans of the game, but don't want more people to play the game unless those people give hundreds of dollars to a corporation that didn't make the game. They just signed a couple checks. They had no hand in the actual creative aspect of this. All they did was sign a couple checks and hold the game hostage and charge the gamers an extra few $100 if they want to play the game. You think they're in the right here. You think that you, as a gamer, should give a single fuck what they think. And then these people wonder why their platform keeps getting worse. You wonder why your platform keeps getting more expensive and giving you less in return when this is your attitude. Fuck, like, okay, no, sure. Keep scratching your head when things keep getting more expensive. How about one more little back and forth? I like this one. They say, why do you focus so much on PC for a single player game in your social media these days? Are you crazy and want to make fans angry? No, they publish a game and they want to make money off of it, so they're marketing it. They're trying to do the thing that they're usually really fucking shitty at, which is marketing PC ports. And they wouldn't be doing that if there wasn't money to be made. They are a company trying to make money. That's it. Blank says, lol, defending console exclusivity? Are you insane? You are the only fan that would get upset. Millet says, yeah, we care for exclusives because here is not place that become a third-party publisher. PlayStation is already a third-party publisher. They've been a third-party publisher. And also, PlayStation had $31 billion revenue in 2024, more than any company. Oh goodness, I wonder where a chunk of that money came from. Could it be non-PlayStation platforms? How did that happen? Oh, by Sony putting games on other platforms and making people aware of them. Fascinating stuff here, I can't believe it. And it was the first time that a company in the gaming industry could reach it. Why do you care? I keep seeing this number being thrown around. The PlayStation made $31 billion. Look at that. Why do you care? Like, who gives a shit? How does that affect you? Blank reads my mind here. Says, how does platform exclusivity benefit you as a console user? Millet says, God, it's so simple. High quality exclusive titles are the main reason to choose a console platform. That is a fact, and you can ask from Nintendo guys. I'm sure they tell you. I love this. So high quality exclusive titles are the main reason to choose a console platform. Also, PlayStation had $31 billion. Okay, follow-up question. How many dollars has PlayStation put into failed live service games? How many dollars has PlayStation put into games that haven't even come out and are probably not going to come out for another year, 2 years? I mean, I'm not sure why I'm taking anything seriously from someone whose profile picture is from a game they haven't played. But just, my goodness. It makes me so, it's all so silly. It's all so silly. Look, I love seeing developers encourage modding. I love seeing games come to PC so they can be properly preserved. I love seeing games not be exclusive to a piece of hardware that's going to be outdated. It's already technically outdated and is owned by a corporation who openly doesn't give a fuck about you. This is the direction the industry's headed. If you don't want to be a part of it, that's fine. Go away then. If you don't want to be part of the PC side of the industry, that's fine. But stop pissing yourself whenever a company wants to be involved with it, because believe it or not, there's a lot of money to be made over here. So I'm gonna do the Doofus Club now, and then we're gonna have a nice little chuckle about things as things keep getting stupider. While I was recording this, the fucking State of Play was announced. So place your bets now on how many PC ports are gonna be there. Although announcing PC ports at this point would mean that there actually need to be some games to be ported. Lol. Now, some of you may be looking at the title of this video and thinking to yourselves, gee willikers, why isn't Joe talking about the recent drama surrounding Hi-Fi Rush going to other consoles? Because that was a pretty big salt mine recently that I evidently have not made a video about. I was making a video about it, but then I stopped, dear viewer, and I'll explain why with the simple question to you. Which of the following two things is funnier? PlayStation fanboys laughing and pointing fingers at Microsoft for making their games more accessible, or PlayStation fanboys crying and wetting themselves over Sony making their games more accessible? I think the answer should be pretty clear. And for the record, and we might as well just get this out of the way before we get into the PlayStation fanboy salt, if you're an Xbox dude and you're complaining about Hi-Fi Rush going to other consoles, get the frick over yourself, okay? Making a great game more accessible is good for gamers because it means art isn't being held hostage by a plastic box. But it's also good for the corporation that you hold so dear because when they make a game more accessible like this, they're making more money off of a game with their name on it, which I thought was what you people cared about. Like, if you're a diehard Xbox dude who wants Xbox to make a buttload of money and they want Xbox to be the most influential name in the business,
Why wouldn't you want Hi-Fi Rush to go to more platforms and make more money for the Xbox ecosystem? Like there are a lot of people out there who just aren't going to buy an Xbox. So why do you see it as a bad thing that Microsoft is now going to make more money off of those people who don't want the Xbox by meeting them halfway and publishing their game on a platform that they do want? And the same goes for all the PlayStation diehards who still complain about Sony putting first-party games on the PC. Like, look, a lot of us PC dudes just aren't going to buy a PS5. That's just the way it is. So why are you upset that Sony is still making some money off of us by meeting us halfway? It's just so stupid. I don't understand why the console warriors still don't get this. You know, making games multi-platform is not only good for the art, because more people get to experience it, but it's also good for the company you claim to be a cheerleader for, because they're making money off of people who were never going to enter their ecosystem through the hardware. But anyways, let's shift focus back to the title of this video, which is not Hi-Fi Rush, it's Helldivers 2. So, it was confirmed the other day that Helldivers 2, the upcoming co-op shooter from PlayStation Studios, will be getting full crossplay between the PS5 and PC versions, and it's launching on both platforms day and date. Not the first time PlayStation has done this, by the way. Remember Predator Hunting Grounds? Day one PlayStation and PC with full crossplay, and yet a bunch of PlayStation dudes are acting like Helldivers 2 is like making history here. So, you know, don't mind me. I don't even own a fucking PlayStation, and apparently I'm a better PlayStation historian than the actual PlayStation people. Although, to be fair, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to act like this game never happened, because yikes. The point I'm getting at here is that Helldivers 2 is launching day and date on PC and PlayStation 5 with full crossplay, and despite all the PlayStation fanboys just a few days ago celebrating Xbox games going multi-platform, a number of those same fanboys are now turning around and whining about Sony making their games multi-platform, even though we've known they were doing this for a really long time. And no, it doesn't get any less stupid here, I promise. So I guess apologies for not making a salt video about the Hi-Fi Rush multi-platform situation, but personally, I find this salt to be much saltier given the context of the Hi-Fi Rush salt. Because remember, Hi-Fi Rush going multi-platform, that's good. Helldivers 2 going multi-platform, that's bad. Why? Because there's a PlayStation logo on the box. And literally no other reason. Pac-Man says in response to the announcement that the game has crossplay, "Why are you putting games on PC? I bought a PlayStation for PlayStation games. Now you're giving away the games day one?" Now before we get into my response to this tweet specifically, let's go ahead and click on this lad's profile and start blaring the irony alarm, because literally at the top of his feed was a retweet of an account called Japan Hates Xbox, basically just Fortnite emoting over the fact that Hi-Fi Rush is going multi-platform. And then I scrolled down a little bit and saw that this dude had spent most of the other day retweeting pot shots at Xbox over the Hi-Fi Rush thing. But now, when Sony is putting a first-party game on PC, this is what you have to say about it. Do you understand now why the Helldivers salt is way funnier than the Hi-Fi Rush salt? But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this nonsense that you just spewed out of your spew hole. First of all, this is still a PlayStation game. Like, I'm not sure why you're whining about this somehow not being a PlayStation game. Like, I bought the PlayStation for PlayStation games. Helldivers 2 is still a PlayStation game. I don't know what you're whining about. But also, today I learned that PlayStation games on PC are free. Apparently, they're just giving them away on PC. Rest assured, this game is $40 on Steam, just like it's $40 on PSN, but, you know, you just keep telling yourself that Sony is doing something gravely wrong by putting a game on PC so PC gamers can give them money for it and increase Sony's revenue. I mean, I didn't think that qualified as giving the game away for free, but you know, what do I know? Moving on. David says, "Never seen a dumber company. Why would you keep promoting PC on your PlayStation channel? Way to keep undermining the PS5. Yeah, why would PlayStation promote a game they're publishing? Why would they do that? Why would the company paying the bills for a game's development want to make that money back when the game comes out? Again, I'll never understand why people can simultaneously be like, yes, I want PlayStation to be the most successful company, and then literally get mad when PlayStation does something that would make them a more successful company. Like, dude, some of us aren't gonna buy a fucking PS5. We just don't want it, and Sony can't make us want it. Also, this is a co-op multiplayer game. Why wouldn't you want the player base to be as big as possible? This is why people say fanboys only care about the hardware and the logo. Sony putting games on the PC benefits Sony, and it benefits everyone in Sony's ecosystem.
Just like Microsoft putting their games on other platforms benefits everyone in their ecosystem because it increases the amount of people in the ecosystem and increases the amount of money there is to spend on improving that ecosystem. You may love the hardware that Sony makes, but there are millions of people who are never going to buy their hardware. And there is so much money to be made off the people who don't want to buy your hardware, and Sony is recognizing that, finally. Why can't you? J. Barry Strife says crossplay will be turned off on my end. Yeah, the number of people I saw, like, in response to the announcement that crossplay was going to be in Helldivers 2, the number of people who were just loudly like, I'm turning off crossplay, I'm turning it off, look at me. Like, it's just fucking dumb. Partially because, again, it just makes the PlayStation dudes look like a community of people physically allergic to the concept of playing games on something other than a PlayStation. But also, Helldivers is a co-op game. Like, it's co-op. You saw the words crossplay and immediately were like, no, the PC cheaters are gonna come steal Christmas. But like, it's not a PvP game, which raises the question, were you actually excited for Helldivers? Or were you just excited for another PlayStation exclusive? Because you can't simultaneously be excited for Helldivers and scared about crossplay in Helldivers. Because if you are scared about crossplay in Helldivers, do you even know what kind of game Helldivers is? Horizon Omega Zero says, may it flop. Don't push PC aids into PlayStation. You see it destroyed Xbox, and you see Nintendo strays away from it and growing without it. Real PlayStation fans don't support this because it sends a signal that selling out to PC is okay, and it's not. We grew without PC, we grow without PC. God, Omega's been doing this for a long time. I see this dude the same way that I see people like Unleashed. Like, either you're genuinely one of the dumbest people alive, or you've been 24/7 LARPing as the dumbest person alive for literal years now. And either way, that's just fucking sad. Moving on. Joey Grinchy says PC will be hacking day one, turning off crossplay. Again, preemptively complaining about hackers in a co-op game like this is just weird. It's like Helldivers 2 is just not the kind of game where hacking would damage the experience, like, at all. It's a co-op game. It's a PvE game. If you squad up with somebody who's cheating, you can fix the problem by just not squatting with them. And it's not like this is the kind of game where a lot of people are going to put the effort into setting up hacks, you know? It's like hacking in Division 2. Like, what is to be gained by doing that? But again, PlayStation diehards just reminding us over and over again that they don't actually pay attention to things other than the logos on their favorite box. This person says, so are PlayStation players able to play Helldivers 2 on PS5 online for free like PC players are? Or are we second-class citizens? Yes, this may come as a shock to you, but when you pay to play your own games online for multiple decades, the company making you pay isn't really gonna be motivated to stop making you pay. Compare that to the PC market where online is free, and basically every attempt to monetize online gaming in a similar way to PSN or Xbox Live has failed. If you don't want to pay to play your own games online, just stop proving to these companies that you will pay the fee basically no matter what. Like, it amazes me that PlayStation dudes will pay to play their own games online month after month, year after year. They don't question it. They don't cancel their membership when Sony raises the price for no reason, because, like, this isn't actually something that costs Sony any money. They don't have to charge you to play online. They just choose to because they know they can get away with it. Which, like, that alone should make it the most insulting thing in the world that they have ever raised the price. Like, even once. My point is that Sony can do all of these things, and you don't say a word. But when Helldivers 2 doesn't require a PSN membership for the fucking PC version, because of course it doesn't, that's where you draw the line. That is what upsets you and makes you feel like a second-class citizen, or whatever you fucking said. The fact that you are like this is the reason they're charging you. Fernando says, I've always been an advocate of speaking with your wallet, and after seeing that PlayStation gamers have to pay for PS Plus to play Helldivers 2 online while PC players do not, I decided that I will not buy this game. If they offer it for free, it is the only way I will get this game. See, more of this. More of this. Again, little strange that it's taken you guys this long to notice that paying to play your own games online is a fucking scam, but this is good. This is good. If this is what wakes you up to it, then great. Stop paying for playing your games online. It's dumb. Look, more games going to more platforms, especially with crossplay between them, is always a good thing. Always. More people get access to games. More people can play together. And more people get clued into the fact that console gaming is kind of a scam. All good things all around, you know, so stop fighting it so hard. I've never seen people so angry about everyone in their hobby moving towards a better market. It's so strange. Like, you would think the PlayStation dudes would be happy about PlayStation making more money off of gamers, which results in PlayStation having more money to make more games, but like, fucking apologies for having faith in you guys, I guess. Alright, toodles.